for it. The only thing this has proven to me is I can retire and my wife and I won't kill each other.
There you go.
So anyway, but I'll be back in touch with you soon. Just want to stop in real quick, and I don't want to be caught back there next to Bill Bryan. I don't want to ruin my reputation, so. Look forward to talking to you later.
We'll see you soon.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Okay, have a great day. Good
Appreciate it
luck.
very much.
Your life.
Just discussing it. I told her, she said about hours. Well, that's the way she did want to go back to.
She didn't do it. And you can verify that with you, and we have a resolution.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, now we're trying to say, you want me to try to get the ladies on. I said, I'm going to come back door.
Right. Well, the thing is, she's not moving. She's courthouse and all three of us. So we just needed to, I guess we should have discussed it before you talked to her. We'll see. We'll get her.
Yeah.
They, I don't know when
I was really good time she get. I have everybody started.
Yeah.
She works. She works like.
She'll pick whichever one of us walk in the door. Yeah. I know she wasn't talking. It's to get the council straightened out. I'd replace her. Let's go technology at 12.
I got custodians down school.
Well, you and I might not, but I guess the people do.
There's two of them out there. Please, those $9.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom one more time. I break it off. If I don't, I wish I had.
That's why I took off. I'll be like, okay. No, I'm not busy. Oh, yeah. I just.
Remember to shut it off.
Like I said, Jim, you know, when I look at our sheet, maintenance is set, and you and him, I guess he accepted the trade. So I'm like, oh, yeah, but the doctor, like, really?
He did.
Well, that's it, correct?
On ours, and
And the janitor, all three of us. So we'll just communicate. It's no big deal. Yeah, we're good.
I don't have it here. I can see.
That's fine, just so you just have your record that he turned it in
Said it was at 5:40.
5:40.
And then skill alarm, multiple ones, I didn't.
She will now.
Have Riley.
Might have to go for a walk.
His was at 48.
Okay.
I remember him bringing in, and that one was.
Okay.
Okay.
There it is. My trash can.
Is there one?
Where that's at, yeah, Sheila. How's John doing? Better?
He's good. He has to have surgery again Monday.
Oh, no.
It's not looking real good.
Those are the three updates that we haven't talked about.
Okay.
Is it over the one he had, or just this new surgery?
The new one.
No.
Well, the last one didn't do good, so he has to go again.
Bill, if you have a bid, sealed bid to turn in, it's 7 minutes until it closes. If you've already turned it in, you're up front, but if anyone is here with a sealed bid for Kelly Bridge Road, 7 minutes till it closes.
Wow. I should do that too, use that restroom. You're all right, you can walk behind you like, unless you're just nervous.
I am not sure.
I'm not that kind of guy. You all right?
Yes. Looking on here, it looks like none of those go away. Is that correct? Okay, so you think probably at least 4 years? At least 4 years. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and get a hold of paper on myself. And just have them confirm that, because I don't want to file anything, like, can I just have a
No,
That's
right.
correct.
Conversation with you might be all it takes.
But that's what I wanted to talk about, because at least on their site, they're claiming, oh, we can help you. So I just want to make sure that they're saying, so, we can't, because then the only other I was thinking about is that we could file like here, the auditor and I don't know, which is the files, judge just said, all we're asking is nothing more than that information upon verification. Obviously, that this is the county's account, it's a fair or something. And I want, so, yeah, I looked at all that this morning, I thought, well, it says that they help and they get all these methods to do, but obviously that takes.
We have gone every route that we know of and have had lots of conversations. So it was absolutely one.
Okay, let me call, it's not gonna see, I'm just trying to make my sister for some reason.
Hey, Jim,
Yeah, that's all.
I have a question.
Yeah, exactly.
We got a monitor down there.
Well,
Security desk. They used to set up a TV down there
That's
once in a while.
about 9 o'clock.
That we can counter this into that. So when the traffic's too big, they can go down there and set a TV up out there.
I'm one of them.
Yeah.
We got that.
Let's do that.
We got pan your average.
I don't know if we've got a monitor big enough down there in the IT room or not. So, yeah, wonder where that thing's at. Why don't we do that next meeting, just set it up out there in the lobby, that way until people switch in. Okay.
There's an extra monitor. Well, you got the one the one on the wall. Can you use that?
Yeah.
Is that what you're gonna use? Yeah, the one that's right up there.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
There's an extra monitor in my office too.
Trying to pacify everybody here, and it's gonna be impossible, but
Yeah, but that's on the-
Social distance as well.
right, yeah, we'll just,
One here.
there you go. Yes, it's,
don't forget everything you need to sign's in the green folder. I added the, executive meeting for March the 4th.
in a
It'll
minute.
be signed too. They're in there.
March the 4th. It's not on this sheet right
It's not
here.
on the agenda.
Okay.
So it's in your packet. I mean, you can not add them if you want.
I'm gonna just add them to my agenda.
Here's all the claims. If there's questions, put the signature sheets in the green folder.
I better get all my papers off of this.
Click on that.
This,
Did you get that card?
No, who's that?
this,
Did you get that card? Wanna call him?
No, who's that? How much for the charge?
Did you get that card? Wanna call him?
I've got to turn that back on.
When I was in there, we had to do that every, what, 3 years? They do it every year now.
How much?
Every year they inspect them, I think.
Now?
Yeah, I think it is. Maybe every. We'll ask Greg here in a little bit when he gets here.
say it's not phone anymore, it's just another.
You haven't signed in, there's a sheet over there if everybody can do that before you leave, or. You haven't signed in, there's a sheet over there if everybody can do that before you leave, or we'll turn that down.
Because there's an echo.
Turn on all the hearing.
Okay, well, just turn it up a little bit.
What are you?
Yeah, I don't remember this thing. Somewhere always, we still got a test.
That thing's still. It's not moving on here. Okay, now it's just, now turn it back, yeah. Okay.
About a 6 second delay. Okay. About a 6 second delay in it.
Turn it back that way just a little bit. Wi-Fi back that way. The other side. Just bump it.
What's the Wi-Fi
password?
Spencer, capital S.
Exclamation, yeah, that's a county guest.
Spencer, exclamation.
Hey, Sam, so you know next time, we're gonna have monitors out there and. Good deal. Exactly, yep. Until we can gather more.
Sounds good.
That's perfect.
Right there.
It's gonna take the attorney out of the back.
We try to get it. This is yours. Okay, meter scanner just fine.
A little bit more.
Tad more.
Just a tad more.
It's got about a 6 second delay.
There you go.
That's
Got it?
Yep, that'll work right there.
Got it?
It's time to get started. Yep.
Moved again on you.
All right, folks, it's 6 o'clock. I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Do the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sam, since you're live and in person, would you like to lead us in prayer this evening?
Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you today to give you honor and glory and praise. Thank you for your love, mercy, and grace made new. Lord, we ask you to watch over and guide, strengthen us all in your spirit, help us do your will. Watch over the commissioners, guide them with understanding and wisdom, Lord, that they make sound decisions for the whole entire county. We appreciate all they're doing for us, and we ask you please forgive us our sins and shortcomings. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I'm going to ask everybody tonight, since it's our first public meeting, if you're addressing the commissioners, once you finish, if you could leave the area so somebody else can come in. This is our first open to the public meeting, so we've got several people that want to participate in several different things on the agenda tonight. So if you could do that, I'd appreciate it greatly. Got roll call. Dale? Here? Here. Bob?
I'm here.
Gary? Here. All right. First on the agenda is approval of minutes for the regular meeting, March the 1st. Do I hear a motion for approval?
I make a motion to approve the minutes for March 1st.
I have a motion by Bob and a second by Dale. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excuse me here while I open up a packet of papers. All right, gentlemen, not on your agenda, but we have the executive session meetings from March the 4th for approval. The minutes are in your packet. You've probably seen them, but it's not on the agenda. Do I hear a motion for approval of the executive minutes for the?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion by Dale. Do I hear a second? Second by Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0. Next on the agenda is approval of claims. Do I hear a motion for approval of claims for 3/15/2021?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Dale. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0, Sheila.
There is also the out-of-cycle claims for the utilities and things that are in your packet for signatures for everybody tonight.
Sorry, Bob.
It's all right. I seen it there. I didn't get my ammo.
I'll slide him through here. How's that?
There we go.
And I also have out-of-cycle claims, gentlemen, and we'll wrap those up at the end of the meeting if that's all right with you guys. Next on the agenda is the maintenance superintendent position. I'm gonna skip over that just a second and bring up the farm lease agreement. Jerry's here and I want to make sure we can get him in here and get him out of here. He's got other things to do, I'm sure, so. Jim, if you want to touch on that for me a little bit.
Sure. And this, Commissioners, this is a Owen County farm lease agreement. It's a contract. The base is that Owen County is permitted and has entered into a lease of land that Owen County owns, and therefore they would be determined or considered as a landlord. Mr. Jerry Newport would be the tenant. This is a contract would be between Owen County Commissioners and Mr. Newport for a period. Owen County owns 3 grounds, generally described as pasture land or the old landfill, leaving out the more technical parts. It's parcels 400-0023, 300-023, and 200-370-023. So it's this area out at the landfill. This would be a contract for at least for 3 years. The beginning of this year, we date from January 1st, 2021. It would run till December 31st of 2023, whereas if that required, the tenant would peacefully return the possession of the land to the landlord. The part is of the rent. I'm going to explain what's going on each year that as IDM comes out and they expect the grounds of the landfill. There would be things as far as seeding, weeds, mowing of the grass, drilling, removing shrubbery, removing trees that Owen County is committed and must do. So Owen County must become compliant to that. In the past, Mr. Newport has paid a rent of $800. So in the rent area, I want to explain the background of this. In lieu of paying the annual rent of $800 per year, Mr. Newport, the tenant, will perform all required maintenances as required by Rule 329 of the Indiana Administrative Code, 1023 et al. The tenant, Mr. Newport, will be provided with the Patricksburg Landfill Owen County Semi-Annual Report, maintenance report, and shall perform all required maintenance to ensure compliance. These tasks include, but are not limited to, the gate and lock maintenance, removal of trash, mowing and vegetation removal, seeding and planting of grass, 5, repair of the erosion areas and fix ruts and roads, clear debris from the ponds and channels, install riprap, remove trees, drill weed holes, and any other maintenance and repairs required by the inspection report. The Owen County Highway Department shall supply such materials as dirt, gravel, and riprap. Then there's the other, as far as the will be peacefully returned, all of those standard contract provisions are in there. This would be, if it's subject to your approval, Mr. Newport's approval, would be approved in a regular meeting on today's date of 2021, entering into a farm lease agreement for the farming operations. It would be signed by Mr. Newport as the tenant. It would be signed by the commissioners of Gary Burton, Robert Curry, Gail Du Bois, and attested by Sheila Reeve. The basic essence, and rather than paying $800, Mr. Newport will take over all the maintenance of the landfill to make sure that Owen County is in compliance with IDM and administrative rules each and every year.
All right, Jerry, is there any questions? I'm sure you've went over this. I know we haven't had a chance to speak. This is something that you've done for pretty much for quite some time with John Reeves. And I know I've met you out there a couple of times. Basically, they put out a thing last year just to kind of keep the concrete squares up to snuff and to weed eat and to put the numbers on them and things that you've already done for many, many years. Basically, if you're content with this agreement, I know that we are. You've done an outstanding job out there, and we appreciate everything that you're doing. Obviously, if you need dirt, riprap, anything at that point, you'd call Greg at the highway and they would provide that to you.
I know one year they asked that the trees be mowed over the riprap, especially on the hillsides. The county did that with the boom mower. I don't have that kind of equipment, so as long as the county.
And we'll be flexible with that kind of thing. I mean, we understand that there's certain areas there that are.
That was like a 1 in 5 or 10 year deal.
I know in my conversation with the state out there and AECOM, it was more of keeping the wells up and numbered and painted and those type of things, which didn't fall in the highways realm of doing things. So if you're good with our verbal agreement on that part and the rest of the contract, I know that I am. You gentlemen have any discussions on this?
Well, that's your agreement? Okay.
Okay, all right. All in favor to sign the agreement with Mr. Newforth and the farm lease agreement for the county landfill? Do I hear a motion? I ahead of myself for just a little
I'll
bit.
make a motion, we accept the contract with him for the county landfill.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. All right, Jerry, I've got a copy right here, and get this all signed, and then Sheila will get you out a copy as well. Jim, if you could, when he gets that to the end, could you get that to Jerry? Thank you. Appreciate you showing up tonight very much so.
Do you want a second copy to sign?
Yeah, if we've got it, that way he can go ahead and take one this evening. I've got an extra copy here, guys. All right, Bill, Sheila's done. Thank you very much. Here's the cover page to that. We'll just put that back in the basket, then you can take that one right there, Jim.
Just part of it. No, yeah, you gotta sign it back up there.
Which one do you want? It doesn't matter.
That's for him. Okay. He's gotta sign it too.
And then Jim has a copy for you, Jerry.
One of yours?
Okay.
Thank you very much. All right. Let's go back to the beginning here. Maintenance superintendent position. We had an executive meeting earlier this evening to interview the candidates for this position. It is a new created position. It used to be maintenance supervisor. Now it's maintenance superintendent. And 35-hour position. And we've interviewed 4 different candidates. Had 5 apply. One of them was not eligible. So at this time, I'm going to ask for any recommendation and a motion for any particular candidate.
I make a motion, we accept Jacob Staley.
I'll second that.
Well, and gentlemen, I'll agree with that and take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0 for Mr. Jacob Staley. And we'll contact him later on this week and let him know. We do still have a part-time position available, and we'll be putting that up for advertisement here this week. Okay. Health Department appointments. Christine, you want to come up here, or you get back there? Whatever you want to do is fine. You have some appointments that you brought for us, correct?
Yeah, I gave them to Sheila.
Okay. Do we have copies of those, Sheila?
I emailed them to you.
They're not in the packet.
email them.
Okay.
I have it.
Here's a copy.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I should have spelled it out. So you have 3 on here, is that correct?
I have 2 for sure. The third one did not get back with me in time today, so that's the Dell Nicholson and Linda St. John.
Okay. Jim, help me out on this. We have parties we have to attach to these, is correct?
Sure. What you have here is, this is the health board. The health board is regulated under Indiana Code 16-20-2-1, that there's 7 members. Not more than 4 can be from the same political party. Right now you have two people on the health board. You have a Mr. James Lughead, and he is a pharmacist, a Republican. And you have Lindsay Wilson, FNP, also Republican. So there's 3 categories now that you pick from. In category, what I'll call category 1, you have 4 persons knowledgeable in public health. At least 2 of these people must be licensed physicians. So if I can ask a question, are any of these licensed physicians?
No.
Okay, so your category 1, in essence, is filled, even though you have 2 openings. So Mr. Lockett and Ms. Wilson are in category 1. So anyone else selected in category 1 must be a licensed physician.
Okay.
So you're now making a selection now, 2 representatives of the general public. Both of these would fall in. Do you have their party affiliation?
Linda did her party affiliation is independent, so I do not know how we approach that.
Okay. Did you know, it would fall back as far as the last primary that you voted in?
Okay.
Is that known or? Okay, but in any case, there's only 2 people to be appointed, and then the second person, what was that?
He is a Republican.
Okay, so at this point, even if all 4, like at the last primary, if they voted, hypothetically, if she did not, and it's independent, but generally that's kind of the rule, you go back to the last, primary as far as a designation, because you're declaring the party. But you could fill then both of these, if they're meet your approval, they would fall under category 2. So that would give you a 4-member health board, which is the minimum for a quorum. You still would have 2 licensed physicians from category 1 open. You still have then open one representative of the general public or public health official. So that can be both.
I have an additional candidate as well.
Okay.
Christine Hudson, which is retired from the state of Indiana Health Department. I have an additional candidate.
Okay.
She is a Republican.
Okay. So if you selected her, you would have 4 Republicans, but the 1 independent, I think we would have to kind of verify just to make sure. There's nothing wrong with declaring independent, that's all I'm saying. But if there has been a declaration like at a last primary, normally that's the party association. So if you want to appoint the 4 known, you could do that today. They would be out of the 2 representatives of the general public. Then the 1 that's listed as an independent, if you want to wait, verify, then that person could come out of the 3rd category. That'd be either the general public or the designated categories.
Are you good with that?
I am.
That way it's going to get us some appointments tonight. You can check with the election department tomorrow and find out the last voting record of Mrs. St. John. And then we could put her in category 3.
That would, perfect.
And then your final openings, if all 5 then are approved, and she would have to be approved at your next meeting, at your April meeting. You now have then 2 licensed physician openings. They must be licensed physicians, and at this point, they would not be able to be affiliated with the Republican Party, Democrat, Libertarian, and any other party, but that would be a group, and that's mandated by the statute.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Okay, so this evening we would have Dell Nicholson and we would have Christine Hudson. Correct. Okay, so this evening we would have. Do I hear a motion for appointment? We would have Christine Hudson.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Dale. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a second by Bob. You good with this?
I'm fine.
Okay, just want to make sure. This is your department, so,
Right.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
3-0.
Christine, those would be our category 2.
Okay.
So we have an opening for category 3 and 2 openings in category 1 still.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, if you want to check down there tomorrow and find out, that way the next meeting we can get Linda, hopefully in category 3. Very much. Okay?
Thank you.
I'm gonna give you this back. My chicken scratched on it, but at least you'll know.
Okay.
Does that make any sense? You probably already wrote it down anyway. Okay. Credit card policy. Jim, do you want to give us a current status? I know I've read through it.
Sure, just, this is the current credit card policy for the county. Per ordinance, number 2018-002. These are sections 33 through sections 38. I'm not gonna read all these verbatim, but these are kind of the highlights of your existing one. First of all, the credit limit for the credit card is $1,000 per department. So that may be one consideration you may want to raise. Obviously, you could lower, but right now, that maximum credit limit is $1,000. The charges are to be made on credit cards just for the line of services, and they must be authorized in the budget of the respective department. These cannot be unappropriated expenses. No credit card issued in the county's name will be used for private or non-county purchases. Credit cards are for strictly county business. Within 72 hours, the person using the credit card shall provide the auditor with a copy of the receipt. And this one, any points, cash back, rewards, or benefits on a county credit card are only to be redeemed strictly by county purposes. No individual is entitled to use any of those. The county auditor is, for the mandatory procedures, is responsible for the administration of county credit cards. For record keeping purposes, the auditor will maintain in written and electronic form all outstanding credit card holders. So whatever the number of people that are authorized or actually have one of the credit cards, the auditor would have a list. Any county employee that uses a credit card must have signed an Owen County credit card agreement, setting out the obligations, setting out kind of the above rules that has to be signed, for it. And if the card is for the department only and not individual, say for example, highway, I just use them, but if any individual, they've got to sign that. So it's not just anyone at the highway, whoever the superintendent would designate, they've got to be on this agreement. County auditor reviews the credit card billing and documentation to guarantee compliance with all these procedures. The county auditor will ensure that all receipts for the credit card are purchased separately or audited by someone different than the one that actually used it. The county auditor will ensure the person issuing the checks for credit cards is not the same person that receives it. So you have kind of a double blind valuation there. And finally, the County Board of Commissioners have the right to inspect all credit card receipts at times and practices to do a secondary audit. So kind of the breakdown on there, the person using it has a duty, or department head must turn in the receipt. Then that has to be evaluated by an unknown person. I mean, someone that did not use that credit card. It's double checked by the auditor, and then it can be what I would call triple checked in by the commissioners to make sure how the credit cards are being used. Misuse of credit cards can result in disciplinary action. Be familiar with there's a number of lists of prohibited charges, and the county auditor may, under her authority, suspend or cancel a credit card if the policy is not followed. The county auditor will audit credit card usage, and a person would be personally liable for any unauthorized. So I'm just saying purely hypothetical. This situation hasn't happened, but just like someone went down to Wendy's and got a meal and came back, that's totally unauthorized in addition to all the disciplinary actions that could happen. Possible criminal actions could happen. That person is absolutely responsible for paying back in the reimbursement. So that's your existing policy. If you're wanting to look at some changes, I think some of the things you might want to look at is your credit card limit. If you look there, obviously with the expenses, 1,000, may not be the one that you want. Also, there's obviously different types of credit card. There's the best known kind of general, for example, Visa, MasterCard, as compared to a local store. You may want to limit that to just general credit cards, not so much local. You might want to look at complete compliance as far as making sure who has those. If you want some assigned directly to a department where they have one, say, on site, with the understanding that the auditor would have a record of that credit card and also the signed agreement of either that department and anyone who would be using it. But that's where your policy exists right now. So any changes you would want to look, it would require an amending of this ordinance, which I could prepare, but it would kind of be up to you now as commissioners for any changes you would want or what direction you would like to go.
Well, I know in a meeting that we had, and I don't know if it was our last meeting or the one before that, we discussed the limit at $2,500. We currently have 5 credit cards, and we would like to eliminate that down to 1 per department in the sheriff department, highway department, and the EMS 911 combination, I think is what we discussed. And then there's 3 with a $2,500 limit for those departments to use through their claim process as the policy says now. The second thing was to eliminate the cards that we currently have. And we want to get to 4 cards, 1 in the auditor's office and 3 in those departments. All at a $2,500 limit. So there's 1 extra card there that we'll no longer use. Is that correct, Sheila? We have 5 now. Now, this is all discussion that we had last time. If you guys remember anything that I don't, jump in here.
2,500, and like I said, down to 4 cards, that's exactly what.
The other discussion we had, Bob, I think, was the Walmart card. We didn't feel that that was necessary if we had a credit card. I know the sheriff department has a Walmart card. That's his discretion. But I think that since we're going to have credit cards, we don't need to have one for every store in town. They all take Visa and MasterCard. Now, Sheila, this stuff comes through your office. Is there any problem with the discussion that we're having? I mean, you have a card. What we're trying to do is get these things under control. We've had 5 in years past that were maxed out all the time because they were not used properly through the claims cycle.
Eliminating the Walmart card also eliminates the Sam's Club, where bulk is bought by your maintenance people.
So is it a Sam's card and a Walmart card?
Yes.
Why don't we just keep the Sam's card, because it can be used at both locations if
They
need
won't
be.
take a Visa?
Probably, but that one $2,500 card ain't gonna go far, as you can tell from your claims that they're constantly checking out cards and going and purchasing.
And they're purchasing this within their budget, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Constantly checking out cards and going.
I just don't feel that we need a Walmart card and a Sam's card. But Sam's card you can use as a credit card at either location. That's one less thing you guys have to worry about in your office.
Like the Walmart card stands both side to side. The one thing about, and I have checked into this, I don't go shopping, so Sam's Club card, I believe, membership for that. And I don't know if they allow the membership by using the Walmart card. I'd have to check in. I don't know, Gary.
I have a Sam's Club card that's a charged card that I can use at Sam's or Walmart. So there's no need to have both. You can use one card at both locations.
Yeah, I mean, if they work at both, I have.
They do.
And the person that is always, sometimes the person signing it out isn't the person that is using it. We get, I mean, pretty much all the departments will send somebody in to pick up the card, but somebody else is going wherever to use it.
Well, it sounds like in our policy, and that was my next question to you, whoever department checks it out needs to have whoever in their department sign off on that form.
Right.
And that's not been happening, it sounds like.
We have a form that they have to fill out each time they come and get the card.
Right.
That they're the one that's taking the card, but that doesn't mean that they're the one that is going to make the purchases.
So now we'll need to request of the departments, whoever they send in, sign out on a release form that they're allowing that person to charge. That makes sense, Jim?
It's actually shopping.
Yeah, whoever's doing the shopping needs to be on the signature sheet somewhere. Because again, like Jim said, if somebody stops and gets lunch on the way back and it's on the county card, at least we'll know who it was. Anything else?
Because I apologize, I do have one question.
Sure.
On the 2,500 limit, is the $2,500 a universal limit? Meaning, if these departments, EMS, if they spend 1,000, the sheriff spends 1,000, the highway spends 500, that is now capped at, or are you talking about a $2,500 limit per department?
Per department. Per department. Yes, per department.
Okay. Or are you talking about a $2,500 limit per?
Sheila, this is all your office, so help us out here.
What will help make it flow quicker is obviously as soon as receipts can be turned in and the general over, as we can pay out a cycle. So as soon as receipts are in, we can be paying those as they're coming through. We don't have to wait until the 2-week cycle. So again, as quick as the departments can get us the receipts and things, we can be processing them so that their balances are still gonna be available to them in an emergency or just in general.
Our current policy, and I would recommend we send these out to all the department heads, this policy, and once it's amended, but it states right on here, within 72 hours, that receipt needs to be in your office. So if you're buying online, print out a receipt, make sure it gets turned into the auditor that claim.
So with our Walmart card that we use and Sam's Club too, and I think she used them both places, I'm not for sure. So we're going to keep that, correct, as long as it's just one card, as well as getting the credit card?
Correct.
Got it. Is that what you mean?
We're not changing your department, we're just giving you an extra credit card for $2,500. And Sheila, I guess you're gonna be the credit card police or your department, so if you do not have those in 72 hours, you call one of us and we'll deal with that.
And I'll have to do some internal adjustments, because right now, the person that processes our claims is the same one that receives the receipts and everything's in and process. We'll have, I mean, I go through them before I give them to you guys, so is that good enough if I'm looking at them, or do you want a second set?
Internal control is what you're talking about
Right.
here. You may wanna switch that in office. I mean, we look at them when we sign off, but we don't look at them before they're actually
Okay.
processed. Sam, and I know for a fact, I was out of town one time with the auditor and you needed something and all the cards were tied up and you had no access to buy something, and we don't want that to happen anymore.
Yeah. Go ahead.
We had an incident one time too, and just throw it out there, you mentioned the $2,500 limit on the cards. We tried to buy an auction, out of another state, a transport van that was about a $60,000 transport van. We wanted auction for about $18,000. I mean, amazing purchase. But we didn't have a credit card in the county big enough to pay the auction fee for it to be able to win the auction and take it, so we ended up losing out on that vehicle, because at that time, I think 2,000 was the most that was on a card, and we had to pay $2,500 on it.
I tell you what we might be able to do, and Jim can back me up on this, is get a letter of credit from the bank for something like that happens again. You can use those on auctions.
Yeah, especially, the chief's right, things like that come up every now and then. That, you know, you get a good deal on something that you have to act on, like right now.
Yeah, and I totally understand that, but obviously we're not gonna put a $50,000 limit on the credit card. But if we use a line of credit from the bank and everybody has a copy of that letter, or the auditor does, you can get that. I think that would probably suffice. You see any problem with that, Jim? Okay.
As long as the commissioners get a head up when where you're bidding on something like that, you call the auditor and let her know in advance. So
That would be no different than a credit card, I think, Bob. They'd have to check that letter of credit out or approval before they got it.
Yes.
yeah, because just one there wide open stuff, like I'm not saying anything can go wrong, but we've got in trouble before for these lines, and we don't need to get them in trouble again, Sam. And it's not your department or anything, it's just trying to guideline so we don't get stomped again.
Gotta keep them checked.
All right, Jim, if you'll work on that, and we'll present that at the next meeting. Hopefully, we should have something put together and move forward. Marcy, and I apologize to you. I'm gonna have you come up next. I'm gonna skip the dome window comment. I should have had you up here a little bit ago.
That's all right, I appreciate
We're
it.
just going with credit card and everything, we're just trying to table it right now.
Jim's gonna put a new policy together and bring it back. There's nothing for us to vote on. We just discussed what we wanted to add to it, and he'll come up with a new plan for us. Go ahead, Marcy.
So gentlemen, 2 weeks ago, I was in here and came before you and asked if you would please vote on the comprehensive plan, which you did, and we are moving forward on that. We have selected 5 consulting agencies to send RFQ letters to, in which tonight I'm asking if President Burton, you would sign those, as well as an income survey letter so that we could go ahead and begin that income survey process with Oprah, requesting that they then pay the $60,000 that we discussed for us to move forward on the comprehensive plan.
And I sure will sign those. I'm sorting through them all here right now. See, that's the my path.
Sound like city, doesn't it?
Looks like I've got about 5 different places to sign. Is that correct,
Yes,
Marcy?
there should be 5 RFQ letters, which I have a copy of, just in case you don't.
Yep.
Also, the income survey letter to Oprah. I actually have to take it to the town council meeting tonight.
And that's why I apologize. I knew you
That's all
had
right,
to go.
no worries, we're waiting on
All
me.
right, take a look at that. Make sure I've got it right for you. Don't want you to have to come back across the street here.
No worries, we're waiting.
And again, this is stuff we voted on last time.
So I need you to sign there, get into that one.
Oh, there's that. There's that one. Ready? Yep, maybe. You got one more right here. There you go.
Thank you very much,
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. That's it,
All right, have a good evening.
you too.
Okay, next on the agenda is dome windows. I'm not really sure what our topic is here, other than they need replaced.
You just brought them up at the last meeting.
Yeah, well, we can discuss them. They are in dire need of replacement. Jim, again, I'm gonna lean on you here a little bit. You wanna touch on the historical building situation that we're in? And
Just my understanding that they are a historical site, so if you're looking, I guess there's a couple ways to go. I can reach out to that historical society to see, I guess I'll start there, unless you have a plan, you know, what they're looking at. Then after that, it would be very dependent then on the cost. Obviously, I'm gonna assume they're over 10,000, I could be wrong, but if they're over 10, you're talking about a minimum of quotes or possibly sealed bids. And then the other thing, just to kind of keep in consideration, if there is no other finance, most likely that would come out of the communal capital development. There is roughly, this is just off my head, but roughly slightly over $100,000 in there that is used in for all of the buildings that are under the commissioner's control. So if they would like me to reach out before April meeting, I could start there and then kind of report back to you what their position is.
Jim, I'd appreciate that. I've mentioned it a couple of times to some members of that society, and have got zero comment or feedback. So I'd take all the help I can get, because if we don't get them replaced soon, we might as well knock the dome off the top of the courthouse. We've got roof leaking issues because of those windows up there, and that's why they're all covered up in white plastic, and they've been that way for 2 years. All right, moving on. Sheriff Department,
New business.
new business. Everybody else out there.
And we all even come back here.
That might be a good thing.
Yeah, pass these out here. Or just leave them behind.
Good evening, gentlemen.
No,
How are we doing?
good.
Good. Well, glad we're here in public, in person for a change.
We appreciate being here. Have fun.
Glad to have you.
Ready for us?
Go right ahead.
Yep.
So, when you hired us to do a series of steps. Eric's gonna go over and just remind everybody what those steps were. I have a really good report on about the first 2 or 3. We could have moved on by contract, but we thought that you needed to get through this stage and everybody knew where we were, but we just kept spending your money.
And we appreciate that. Great.
So, I'm gonna turn it over to Eric and I'll probably wrap up what he has to do.
Yep. So this is a summary of a more extensive report that I'll leave behind with you when we leave. Or we can pass it out now, I guess, to them if we want. There you go.
So that summary, Commissioner, is a summary of this great big report.
Give me that one more time, Dan, I sorry didn't
That
hear.
summary is a summary of this great big report.
Gotcha. Just a condensed form.
Yeah, and that's what we're gonna actually present tonight, but here's the background for all of that.
Okay, excellent.
So you guys can know where that data all came from. Commissioner, here's the full report. James, you brought one for you. There is one for you, the full report.
And if you look in this handout, just so you know, starting on, if you turn past the cover page, and you look in the red area here at the bottom, there are page numbers, they're tiny. But just in case you have a question and you want to reference something,
Like that little one. Is that what
there's one there, and then on the next
Okay, well,
page.
that's not very many numbers in there.
And then if you look on the second page, there's a 2, et cetera. So I'm going to start on this first page, page 1. And this is just a summary of the things. Let me step back real quick. I'm Eric Weflin. I'm an architect with RQAW, and I'm the one that's responsible for the work that RQAW did in that report, and then this summary, working with Garmon, of course.
Just one thing. Do you have any trouble with him taking off his mask?
I do not, it's entirely up to him.
Get a little bit better.
We're far enough apart.
If you're comfortable with it, why, it's kind of muffling through there.
Very, very comfortable with it. So on this first page, there's a summary of the things that contractually we were tasked with doing. The first bullet point that references IC 36-8-19 is the state statute requirement for building a new or expanding a jail facility. And there are 5 bullet points under that that include projections of the future jail needs, the feasibility of a regional facility, the feasibility and impact of housing inmates out of county, providing a financial advisor with lots of data, and then a public presentation of the final report. We'll talk about what of that we've gotten into thus far here in a second. Assess the condition of the existing facility and costs associated with upgrading. Develop options to accommodate the budget, operational, and space requirements. For the options selected, develop floor plans, elevations, wall sections, etc., and then provide a cost estimate. If you turn to page 2, you'll see items highlighted in red. That is all we have completed at this point, and that's what we're here to discuss with you. And eventually ask for feedback, and I'll let Dan kind of talk about next steps in that regard. So at this point, we've looked at the projections of the future jail needs, and we've sent out information to the adjacent counties and asked about their willingness to participate in a regional facility. We got one response, and that response was, we're not willing to participate in that. We can ask the sheriff if he's gotten any since we did this, but to my knowledge, we've not received any additional information. Does everybody understand that? Okay. Determine, then the other one is assess the condition of the existing facility and costs associated with upgrading. That's a bulk of what we're here to talk about tonight. So if you turn to page 3, the next page, as part of the assessment of the existing facility, we took a team of engineers over to the facility.
Can I stop you just a second?
Yep.
Just a quick second. Going back to this next page, you've got, talking about the regional facility. I don't see anything in there about the cost of transporting prisoners to another facility. Would that not be in that same area?
So determining the feasibility of a regional facility is if 2 or more counties consolidated their efforts and built one building.
Right.
And then the feasibility and impact of housing inmates in another county's jail is something that we'll do in the next few weeks.
Okay, so it's not part of this, right?
It's not part of this right now. What that entails basically is looking at the availability of beds in adjacent counties.
I'm not trying to get ahead of the horse. I just want to make sure that we've got all this conversation out on the table. That's all.
Yep, and that is something that will be completed as part of our entire schematic design phase. We just haven't undertaken that portion of it yet.
Okay.
Because here's the thing about that, is if I look at the availability of beds, let's say 2 months ago, and I don't look at some current scenario, you want to do it as close to when it's important to answer the question as possible. So we're going to wait towards the end of this phase to look at the availability of beds and then the costs associated with doing that, including transportation costs for all of you, medical costs for all of you, et cetera, because you would pay all of that from other counties.
Right.
So the RQAW Garmong team had architectural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineers, kitchen consultants, detention equipment consultants, et cetera, looking over that facility. We spread that out over multiple visits because with COVID going on, we didn't want to pack the building full of extra people. They're obviously trying to be very thoughtful about how many people from outside are in the building, so we did that in multiple trips. I think it was 3 or 4 separate trips to do so. C&T was the kitchen consultant at Poly Jail Building Company, a name you might be familiar with. That's an Indiana company. They're out of Noblesville. They came down and spent some time in the facility as well. If you go to the next page, which is page 4, we have a bunch of bullet points. I don't think that you want me to sit here and read through all of the bullet points, but general architectural observations are that the original design was for 32 inmates. Its rated capacity is 72. That means the classification threshold is 57. Is everybody familiar with that? Technically, the state considers you full when you're at 80% or higher of your rated bed capacity. The reason being, that's a number that they've determined gives you the flexibility to properly classify inmates. And by classify inmates, the obvious one is males have to be over there, females have to be over there. Violent, non-violent would be another classification, and then it goes on. So you need to save space so that you have areas to put people of different classifications. Does that make sense? Okay. Access for maintenance is challenging. There are accessibility issues in the facility. That's a big one. That building wasn't designed when we thought about things like ADA. So you think about people getting around in wheelchairs or that, other accessibility challenges. There are, I don't know how many of you are familiar with, there's wall and floor separation in there. There's some building settlement. We think we've identified several causes of that potentially. You can only do so much exploration, by observing it. without doing more testing. But regardless, that is in some of the detention areas, so you end up with large cracks. It affects everything from cleanability, just being able to make sure that everything's, you've got a crack there where dirt and other things can be, but also contraband. I mean, you don't want big exposed spaces in a facility like this where people can hide things. Building envelope infiltration is part of that. By infiltration, we talk about water. So you want to keep weather outside, you want to keep moisture outside of a building like this. And then there's a lot of things on the detention side that are challenges for the staff. Just functionality of locks and doors and those types of things. A lot of that just comes with 30 years of 24/7 use. So they're just constant ongoing maintenance items. On the mechanical side, there are comfort challenges. So by that, we talk about the ability to control HVAC. That refers to temperature generally is a big one. There are continuous maintenance issues on the HVAC side. And then there's internally insulated ductwork. And that's just one of those things where you don't know how much that insulation is deteriorated because it's inside of the ductwork. Those interior lined ductwork also are big opportunities for dirt to collect and other things to collect, moisture to collect. You just really don't know what's going on in terms of the health of the inside of those ducts. So that's something that would be good to deal with. Electrical observations, there are camera locations that we think could be improved. There's old antiquated equipment. There's code clearances and those types of things that are just different today from what they were before. And then the emergency system circuiting and transfer switch does not meet current code requirements. So there are some significant code challenges with the electrical.
So before Eric goes on, up here, Eric's working hard to be respectful of your time, but there were a couple points here he alluded to, but he didn't really go into specific that I think it's really important for you to know. One is if we have cell doors that just don't even work. Two is one of the biggest exposures for counties to lawsuits is from people that figure out ways to strangle themselves. All the current jails are built with anti-ligature devices, so there's no place that they can put a cord, piece of clothing, or anything to it in their cell. These cells were not designed that way. It's important for you to know that.
Thanks, very important. So if you're familiar with an obvious one is all the cell fronts are steel bars. And now you can, it's something that you can tie off to and hurt yourself. So we do everything that we can in new design, as Dan said, to be anti-ligature. So avoid as many opportunities as possible to have tie-off points.
Quick question here, just to answer my own curiosity, have we had any code violations on some of these issues that we're talking about with, we don't meet code requirements now?
Yes, your sheriff, your state report shows code violations on every report.
Okay. And obviously I have not seen that report. I think Jeff's the one that dealt with that stuff before. Again, just bringing it up for general conversation. Thank you very much.
And I think there's an important distinction too. There are Indiana jail standards that aren't met in the facility, and then there are current codes that aren't met. Obviously, this was designed at a time when there were different codes. So I think the important takeaway is that if you did any renovation to that building, you would need to bring it all up to code. And I think that part of what we're trying to list here is kind of the extensive nature of what that would mean, that it's
right.
Kind of all of the above. I mean, it's everything from clearances in front of electrical to accessibility.
To cracks in the floor.
Yeah, I mean, so it's across the board. General plumbing, there's typical things like corrosion in the shower units, contraband spaces in there. That again just goes to cleanability. That's just age of, over time, metal corrodes, right? So it's just where you're at that life cycle of that component. Kitchen piping corroded by sanitizer. Kitchen does not have a grease trap. Some main sanitary piping is smaller than the branch piping routed to it, so just capacity challenges there. Probably a big one under the plumbing is that there was improper grounding that led to electrolysis. And so knowing that there were a bunch of pipes that went under the slab, we think that those pipes likely failed and are part of the reason that you see some of that subgrade. So that there's likely subgrade erosion that would lead to settlement. So we don't know exactly what the cause was, but that is a likely scenario in our opinion. And then it resulted in surface mounted piping. And like we were talking about before, in a facility where you're trying to be as anti-ligature as possible, not giving people the opportunity to tie off on anything, you have surface mounted pipes in areas that you wouldn't want to have like that.
And Eric, if I may, not to take a bit more time, when you talk about the underground piping, a few years back, we had that problem. When it collapsed underneath in the hallway, underneath the drunk tank, we had that, kind of commissioners for emergency repair. And we spent 3 or 4 days or 5 days or a week on that. The whole pipe that was laid underground, there was no bottom left in it. It had all been rotted out, so we had to replace all that, and it cost us, a ton of money. So it's kind of the same thing with that whole truck system.
So kitchen consultant did a review. That kitchen was not designed for expansion, so there's not much that we could do if we expanded that facility. We would have to basically take up other space that's being used for other things in order to grow the kitchen or add on for the kitchen specifically, but there's no expansion space there. The exhaust system could not be reused in an expansion. There would need to be more storage, so freezer, dry storage, etc. Never mind food prep area, and then the wear washing area is inadequate and includes low capacity equipment, so it too was undersized for any future expansion. The detention equipment contractor summary is they looked at things like staff safety. So there's a keypad there that if someone sees a code, they can type in and gain access to something. There's observational challenges. So I know in the past, and not with this group, and we will certainly update you in the upcoming meetings, but the way that we design jails today are such that you can put up to 300 beds around one control point, and you can observe those beds from one control point. Here, if you walk around the corridors, you can't even see into the day rooms without looking through a small port. So your observation view is very, very limited, and then is really only done by cameras. And I think done okay by cameras, but it's not the same as having direct observation from one control point. Many doors do not open or are challenging to secure. And by do not open, I mean you have to go in there and physically lift them and move them in order to make them move. This includes the exterior vehicular Sallyport man door, doesn't secure. Security automation systems are proprietary, and are not properly conditioned. And so by that, if you look at the room where there's electronics, there's multiple fans blowing on it, so it doesn't have the dedicated cooling that we would have in a modern facility for systems like that. Again, it's just, you're at a certain point in the life cycle of this building where you've kind of, everything else has moved on in terms of technology, but the building infrastructure is not there to support it. ADA compliance issues we talked about, the bar grading we talked about as well. Any questions on that? Page 6, you mentioned, Commissioner Burton, you mentioned the jail inspection reports. We've highlighted the items that are frequently listed on those. So lack of storage, overcrowding is always listed on there. Inmates exceeding the 12-to-1 ratio required for fixtures. So you are expected to have no more than 12 inmates per shower fixture, 12 inmates per toilet fixture. And in a facility that's overcrowded for what it was designed for, you regularly exceeded that ratio requirement. The condition of the plumbing system that we've talked about was listed. Condition of the shower stalls was listed. The structural cracking was listed in those reports. And then the issues with the security door operating systems was listed in those. So all items we've already talked about, but they're listed in a state jail inspector report. We updated jail data. So if you remember, 4 years ago, we looked at the data as far as how many inmates, average length of stay, average daily population, et cetera. And we updated that information for the current situation in the facility. The facility is rated for 72 beds. We talked about the classification threshold is 57, so that's 80%. The facility average daily population has exceeded the classification threshold since 2012. So for 8 years, your average daily population has been above that 57 as an annual average daily population.
Eric, can I stop you for just a second? And I'm not here to beat up on you by no means whatsoever. Sam, didn't we change some shower stalls down there for like pay quite a bit of money to replace 3? And the reason I'm bringing it up is there's anybody in this room that was in that meeting, I want to make sure that we get that out in the open, as in, we did replace those units that we.
All we did, we replaced the bottom.
The bases of them, right.
The bases, because they was rotting out where the drain was at. So we put in fiberglass bases to them. That's where we stopped it.
Okay, I knew that we did something to it, but like I said, I don't want anybody that was in that meeting to back then say, hey, we did that, or, okay.
But that didn't increase the number to get you beyond the 12.
No, I know we replaced the bases or the stalls because they were damaged or they were rotting through or something, so.
That's correct.
And I think that that's a theme of this synopsis is that you're having to, because of the age of the facility and the certain things that are getting to a point, you're having to, that target's moving.
Yeah, I think that was a $25,000 or $30,000 price tag, I think.
Right.
Somewhere
34, 35.
somewhere in that ballpark, yeah, okay.
The reason that we bring this up is because in 2016, there were study projections that suggested the 20-year need might be 87, which if you account for that 80% would require 109 beds. When we updated the data with the current information, that projection is higher and suggests that it might be as high as 117, which requires 147 beds. So I'm not here to suggest today that I have a crystal ball and that anybody knows what that need is going to be in 20 years. What I am saying is that when we looked at the trend 4 years ago, it has changed today with the last 4 years of data. And I think that that's just an important thing to make note of, is regardless of what the number is that we end up at some point in this process, in terms of bed count, it is important to note that in the last 4 years, the trend has been up in terms of your bed need. And that's purely the data. That's not anybody doing anything to it. It's just, here are the numbers, here are the facts, and then we'll talk about how we use that information at a later date. With that, if there's no other questions about kind of what we compiled, you have the detailed reports in front of you. You'll see that I went way out of my way to make sure you had plenty to read for the next few days. So
We appreciate
there's a very detailed report there that covers all of the engineering, architecture, et cetera, of the facility.
Thank you, Eric.
Eric always turns it over to me when it comes to the money.
Yeah.
So you're gonna cut this figure in half?
I didn't like that look you give.
So, we looked to see what it would cost just to fix the problems that were outlined here. That doesn't mean we've addressed the problem of all the things you don't have, that I'll relate to in a minute. But this is just what it costs to correct the problems we saw with the existing jail as it is today. And there are some things with this that we can't correct. For example, we can't make the jail ADA compliant completely. We can make some improvements, but because of the nature of the block walls and the things that are there today, the way the cells are laid in, we just can't make everything ADA compliant. But to take care of the settlement, the roof, oh, by the way, RQAW ran this, Garmon ran this, without either one of us looking at the other notes. And then we came out and compared, and we were almost exactly on the same spot. just to validate each other. So this wasn't done in a vacuum, and I might share with you that right now today, between Garmong and RQW collectively, we have $300 million of jail work under contract in Indiana. So these numbers are real time. These are numbers that we're seeing every day on the job. These aren't something we just went in and pulled in out of the sky. So just to fix the facility envelope, which is the settlement, the roof, and the masonry, $665,000. The facility interior, that's flooring, painting, ceilings, fixing those issues, was $285,000. The big one is the functional part of the security of the jail itself is basically shot. That's $4,480,000 just to get the jail back to where it functions as a secure jail. Electrical, $456,000, mechanical, $798,000, plumbing, $437,000. To try to bring some room and ability to operate the kitchen and update the kitchen equipment was about $400,000. Correct the sally port and make add 400 feet, which we really need to be able to get the room in there to move your vehicles in and out properly, $72,000. Some site improvements that were necessary to accommodate those things are $85,000. And then nobody in an old facility in the right mind would start this without any extra money, because you know all the things we're gonna find in there once we really get in there that we can't see. We just threw in $500,000. By the time you take the design work that needs to go in to produce the construction documents, the bidding, the administration of construction, the management of construction, that's another $2 million. You're looking at $10,205,000 just to fix the jail as it sits there today. Now, that's really the good news. The bad news is that jail work's expensive because of all the phasing of moving prisoners in and out while we're doing that work. It's the having to demo so much before we can reconstruct. It's having staff available as we go to move that all around, and that the existing facility won't be any easier to staff and will remain as operationally efficient today when we're done as before we're done. Additionally, there will be a number of unresolved issues. Your next jail report will still show that you're deficient. It'll still show that you're deficient in terms of your ability for the number of inmates you can classify. It'll still show that you're deficient towards some of the ADA standards and requirements. To provide additional space for some uses, others would have to be used. So in other words, as Eric said before, for more kitchen space, we're going to use up some other space which really doesn't exist today. The observational issues, which are current and that we correct in virtually every jail we work on, would not be improved. And you're not going to have spaces for mental health, medical needs, attorney visits with their clients, ability to expand on your electronic virtual court hearings is something that almost everybody's incorporated in jail. We wouldn't have that space either to expand that. And you probably won't get a clean IDOC inspection, as I've already mentioned. So, you know, what we're asked to report to you is, as this first phase, is what would it cost to get the current jail back in position. Well, that answer is about $10 million. But it really doesn't address the long-term needs, I don't think, of the county. So that's just the first step. We're not prepared to answer to you, are you better off keeping this building, opening it up for some things, adding a new line? That's all what we'll study next. But we wanted to bring to you what it would actually cost to take care of the current problems that are in the jail today, Gary, Commissioners. That's where we stop. So we'll take your questions at this point.
Go ahead, Bob. I've had several discussions with these gentlemen, and
So like I said here, I don't see anything good at any point either way about doing this old facility and stuff, but
I might point out to you that if you notice, that cost comes to $431 a square foot. we normally consider to build a new jail between $400 and $500 a square foot. Now, you wouldn't build the same size, you would probably add, but I don't think we're seeing the need right now to add 200 beds. I think what we're seeing, the way you're managing population, which has really come down since we started talking about this a couple of years ago, I think we're thinking that if you could build somewhere in a capacity of 110 to 20 beds right now, but build a shell big enough that I think the commissioners 10 years from now would just have to roll in more cells and wouldn't have to roll all the problems you're dealing with, bring the plumbing in from overhead. We can probably, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but we can probably build a new jail on a square footage cost for $15 to $17 million that would solve all these problems, compared to putting $10 million in a jail where we probably can't get you a clean inspection report. That's really what I'm trying to tell you in a nice way.
You said roll new cells in, what are you talking about, like a pod or something, and you just slide in
So the
there?
way we build the current jail is Eric designs a shell. It's just a building shell. And so you don't have the problems you have today. All the plumbing, electrical is brought in over the top. Nothing's in concrete. The cells are all pre-made steel manufactured cells, and when they show up, they've already got the bed in, the toilet in, the shower in. Everything is coated with a material that's a lot like a rhino liner in your truck, to where there's nowhere to have any cracks or visions. You can hose them out if you want. But that cell just rolls in, locks in place like dominoes, and you plug them in the back with the electrical, mechanical, and plumbing, and they're ready to go. And so the way we typically design a new jail now is Eric will design that jail to hold 150 or pick a number, 175 cells or whatever. But we only buy the cells you really need right now, arrange them around the control tower that will be the central point, and in the future you can come in and plug more cells in if you need them.
Just expand as you go.
But you don't have to buy all the core infrastructure, and the core is already made, the laundry's made, the kitchen made, so those things are made to handle more inmates than you're gonna handle now. You can put another washing machine in, you can put another stove in, you can put another ice box in. But right now, the problem with this particular jail, we don't have the room to do any of that expansion. None of those core services are there.
So in other words, a new jail, when you put it in, it's gonna just be an outside thing, and you're just gonna slide little pods in or whatever and stuff. So in other words, if you put a structure big enough for the 117 or whatever, and say that we could cut our cost to maybe get this in, just put in so many pods, like 100 or something, to hold prisoners.
Yep, that's what we're saying.
But with the cost of about 15 million.
Looking at 15 to 17 million dollars to start to make that happen.
But we're 10 million to repair this one, and won't do nothing.
10 million we won't even be able to get you past your jailers before it's told.
I just want to chime in and expand on that.
Please do.
And for the public and stuff who's been here, one thing you have to understand is the old facility is 36 years old. About everybody's been down there. If you haven't been down there and want to come see it, please do so. But the way things are now, the women, and Jeff Commander, Assistant Jeff Commander is here, the women population is 20-25% of our population. And that's growing. The one thing you have to be really mindful of is classification and segregation of your inmates. Now, a lot of my guys will go out and they'll arrest 3 or 4 people. You have to separate those people because you don't want Johnny talking to Bob and so on and so forth. We've not had that for, well, as you know, for years. That is critical. That is extremely critical when you process these people down the road, so on and so forth. And the mental health aspect that we have now is skyrocketing. And we have no place to handle these people or deal with these people in the jail that we have now. So that is not going to go away. Matter of fact, that part, the mental health issue, the opioid addiction problem is going to increase for quite some time, and we have to have adequate space to be able to treat these people or deal with them.
One thing we'd like to do, Commissioners, in the next 2 or 3 months is we'd like to make arrangements with Steel Cell, which is in Georgia, that manufactures these cells. We'd like to take one commissioner who don't violate a door law, and maybe one councilman and sheriff and jailer, jail commander, to steel cell and actually walk through and bring that information back to the rest of the body. We think it'd be extremely valuable for you to see how that's designed and how it plays into this.
Well, the plan you're talking about is a good plan that you can add to as you go forward. There's no doubt about that. I'm gonna ask you a question that I don't wanna have to ask you. How long is this preliminary design and plan good for? 6 months, a year? I mean, I know I'm not holding you to anything, but with these figures and these numbers.
I think the plan itself, whenever it gets done, would have a shelf life of 2 or 3 years. But I think the budget has a shelf life of about 6 months.
Well, and that's what I'm getting at, because our budget doesn't have a life at all.
We haven't really developed the whole budget for the next phase yet. This budget will still be done for that.
Okay.
We all know that we have to, once we get that done, we'll have to have financial advisors in. We will build in allowance to understand you're gonna take a year before you can build anything.
Dan, what I'm getting at is, and I think you already know where we're going at, we got hurdles to jump here before we tackle this one. And I just want to see what our time frame is to hurdle that before we tackle another problem.
In our mind, there wouldn't possibly be any construction until 2022 at the earliest in the mid part of the year.
That's what I'm trying to get out here.
Because you still have financing and issues and things you're recovering from last year and tax issues. We understand all that.
I'm trying to be as real as I can be here.
We are too, but the numbers we're preparing you are not anticipating construction for 2022 at the earliest.
And at that time, do you have a percentage of increase in price from 15 to 17?
I keep hoping it's going to go down, being the old optimistic guy I am. But I will tell you, Eric and I have seen construction costs in the last 3 years go up 35%. That's more than I've ever seen it in my lifetime.
And I'm aware of that. That's why I was asking this question.
I have a hard time believing it can continue to skyrocket like that, and the demand like that will be that forever. But on the other hand, in my old age career, I've never ever seen it come back down.
Right.
I've seen it jump, but I've never seen it come back down. I don't know whether it will or it won't. I gotta believe we're not gonna see the acceleration over the next 12 or 14 months that we've seen in the last 18. I mean, it's just been unprecedented. But,
I know you don't have a crystal ball. I got that. It's very hard to project.
These numbers are good for 12 months.
Okay.
But I don't really know beyond that.
Right.
And we're going to our next step, and that's what we want to share with you. So the next step is that we need to complete the things you've asked us, which the sheriff and his team will help us get with the surrounding sheriffs, and we'll determine what it would cost me to house an inmate actually in another county. And part of that's going to be what's it going to cost to transfer those inmates and how much extra manpower you're going to have on a ship to transfer those people, and how's the insurance cost going to work. That cost will get answered. But more immediately now, Eric is going to start the conceptual, what we call schematic design of, are we going to use the existing jail at all? Is it feasible to gut any of it, waste on it, and maybe use it for kitchen or conference rooms or laundry and tie a pod to it? Or is the building just so structurally screwed up that maybe we ought to just take it all in a new pod and put it all in a new pod and a new shell and use this for parking? We're going to start looking at that. We don't know.
Well, that's a good point you brought up, because in the 2 years I've sit here in this seat, there's been all kinds of conversations about we can still use this existing jail for this or for that. Can we or can't we?
We don't know that answer yet.
Right, and that's what we as a public tax-paying group want to know. We've got the property there to build a new jail, whatever it is we need to do.
Our commitment to you is we're going to look at that objectively. And then I would say, don't let me put words in your mouth because you got the ball of work, but I would say our next report to you, if this is March, will probably come in June or July with a schematic drawing and budgets.
It can be as quick as makes sense for the county and for, I mean, I that would be fine.
I would say we'd be back to you in 60 days, maybe.
Yeah.
But that would be we're going to be back to you with what we think the feasibility is and what it's going to look like and how it's set on the property. And that'll give you time to bring Jeff Peters and Rick Hall and the advisors in and all of us together, look at how would you crack the nut.
We got some major issues coming up here and some hurdles to jump, as I mentioned earlier. And I'm gonna ask you if you could wait till July to bring that to the table.
No problem.
Because we've got some stuff coming up
That
in
gives
the
us
next
more
couple. To give us maybe a better idea of where we're at.
Sure.
I mean, I don't have those answers, the same as some of the answers I'm asking you, but I think.
We work for you.
And I appreciate that. And I think that once we get some information in the next couple of months, we'll have a better idea of what we are or are not looking at.
But we felt like it was important to let you see what we had here before.
Outstanding.
Before we started the next phase.
Yep.
And I think our justification for going to the next phase is you see it's gonna cost you about as much per square foot to deal with this as it is to start incorporating good money into a new structure. And then you decide what you wanna do,
Sure.
if that makes sense.
Sure does. No, guys, I appreciate it greatly.
Yep.
Everything you promised.
So we'll move on, we'll see you again in July.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Sam, I don't mean to slow down your progress, but you know where I'm going with this conversation. Wait until July.
Absolutely, you got commissioners working on, financial stuff, and we got to wait to get everything.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you all.
It's useful. Thank you very much.
Thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you.
Did you have
Appreciate
anything
your
you
time.
want to inject into this before we depart?
Did I give you guys cards? I did, didn't I?
Okay, the only thing
Yeah, I give you a couple.
I give you
mine
too.
So if you have any questions, Bob, you can call me.
You feel free to call me.
Hang on just.
I'm from Knox County.
Let the attorney speak here real quick before everybody runs off. I didn't include him in this conversation. I apologize. Go ahead, Jim.
So, the only thing I could add, is that part, if you guys wanted a nutshell in 2 minutes of the procedures of what would happen, you know, I could do that, so.
I think that Dale and Bob probably need to be included in that, for sure.
So, Commissioners, was, the case law is clear in this area, the statutes are clear. You three as the Board of Commissioners are the deciders in here on whether you want to do a reconstruction, whether you want to do a new jail, or whether you do nothing. I just say that as far as the different options. Now, with every rule, there's an exception, but none of those apply right now, so this would come to you. The county fiscal body did pass, we'll just call generically the jail tax that was coming out of income. My understanding that fund is located as 1233. It's the correctional facility. You heard some numbers here as far as approximately 10 million for reconstruction, 16, 17 for the new. As of February 28th of 2021, you have $85,724 in that particular fund. In February, there was the receipts that came in, roughly $70,000. 1 month is not a trend, but let's just say for purely hypothetical purposes, if the $70,000 received was the regular amount, that gives you approximately about $840,000 per year as far as the amount coming in to be dedicated for the jail fund. That particular tax is good for 22 years. It started in January of this year. For preliminary purposes of what would happen, and it has been already alluded to, one of the key items is your Indiana Code 361819. That's the feasibility study for the public hearing. RQAW and Garmon Construction pointed out they've got about three of those points. You would need the information from all five when you have that. Now, if your option is either reconstruction or brand new jail, both are going to require that public hearing. Now, you would set that, the public comes in. The key thing about the public hearing is, from my opinion, is the exhaustion of all other remedies. Sending someone to Brown, Greene, Monroe County. If there is such a thing as a regional jail, that's exhausted and you look at your bond counsel. All of that, I just say for the procedures, obviously that's premature, you're nowhere ready to that, because more information is coming to you in July that you would have. Those would be the factors to look at. There is a difference between getting marked on a jail report, the shower needs paint. I'm just using that as a hypothetical, as a jail report mandating compliance. To the very best of my knowledge, Owen County has not received that order from the Indiana Department corrections, stating of a mandatory compliance. From personal opinion, from all the reports, one thing I would say crystal clear, Sheriff's Hut Jail is clean. Opinion, probably of the 92 county jails, he would be number one as far as the cleanliness, the management, of that, which is in the favor. So all this information comes to the three of you. Once you've made some type of recommendations, the people you have on contract that are working for you right now, RQAW, architect, Dan Zerner as the construction manager, Jeff Peters as Peter Consulting from Finance, and then Rick Hall from Barnes & Thornburg as bond counsel. I would be your fifth employee, but there's no other funds. That's part of the job as a county attorney, kind of the liaison and giving you the procedures. Those are the main five people that are groups that would be working for any information that you have. It would appear to me, and I'll defer to anyone else, but it looks like probably until July, till you have all that information. At that point, probably would be the decision time to kind of pick a path, reconstruction, new jail, status quo. But I think really until you get that information, you're probably kind of a holding point until July, barring some exceptional event.
One thing I might comment on, I want you to correct me if I'm wrong. In my career, I've never known the IDOC to issue a mandated directive action. But what happened in Beagle County is an inmate, as a result of the conditions, sued. And it got to federal court. That's where the problem started. And then the federal judge mandates the corrective action. It can actually mandate a jail. And when they do that, they have the ability to control the design specs. And their design specs are going to be far more severe than our design specs. And that's what happened in Beagle County. They're up to $78 million right now in their jail project. So you want to try to stay ahead of the federal government. And you don't want these reports to get so extensive that it gives them credibility for a lawsuit.
One thing that I also do, that the state does not allow the state jail inspectors, and this started last year or the year before, the state does not allow the state jail inspectors to tell you what your problems are. They're not allowed to do that anymore. They used to give us a report on the jail inspection that said this, and this. Now the state has removed that authority from the state jail inspectors, and I'm just gonna be frank about it myself. The state has done an absolutely poor job, use other choice words, about helping counties like us in establishing new facilities. I remember when the level 6 thing took over and we started housing level 6 felony inmates. We was guaranteed money from the state for reimbursement because they didn't have to house them no more. And I'll say this again, I've said it 1,000 times, I still haven't received a check from the state, and we're not going to. So, just food for thought.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We'll see you in July.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna jump Intertech up here next, for a extermination agreement. Is that you? Where's he at? He's outside? Extermination agreement. Go ahead and come bring Mark in here then.
My path.
My path, yep. Mark.
Good evening.
How are you, sir?
Doing well. How are all of you?
Doing fine.
I'm Mark Rogers, and I'm here representing the MyPath Trail System organization. 7 different groups make up MyPath. MyPath was started in 2013 by the Owen County Community Foundation, and then it has grown since then to include 6 other partners: the Soil and Water Conservation District, the Owen County Family YMCA, McCormick Creek State Park, the Owen County government, and the Friends of MyPath, which is a brand new nonprofit, which is volunteers who do projects along MyPath. I'm here this evening to ask your consideration joining in on a memorandum of understanding that just lays out some general agreements among the 7 organizations that are working on my path. We tried to keep it simple, and it doesn't have onerous penalties involved for any of the performances. In fact, it really doesn't have a lot of teeth in it. It's just an expression of how we plan to work together to help the community. I should also say that we've had great support from some other organizations in town, including Spencer Main Street, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Spencer-owned community schools. So a lot of people in the community working together to continue to build this recreational asset. And so what we're doing tonight is introducing this document to you. We are in the process of getting agreement from all of those 7 members, and we are getting some small changes back. So we don't have an agreement to say sign this tonight, but what I would ask is if you have any questions about what's in the agreement or anything else that we were intending to do, and then at the point I get all the feedback from the members, I'll come back to you with a final document. Of course, go through the attorney.
And that's what you're gonna hear tonight, Mark.
Pardon me?
I said, that's what you're gonna hear tonight.
Yes.
I spoke to Jim earlier. You and I spoke last week. There is some questions in there, and I'm gonna let Jim speak on that now before we move further.
So the only question is going to have, in section 3 and section 4 of the funding and budgeting, if an organization or one of the groups has no budget, has no way to have any financial funding, what's kind of the consequence or what's the expectation on moving forward?
Yeah, there's really no expectation that every partner brings cash to the game. In fact, the Owen County Community Foundation is really the only ones putting significant dollars into this project. What we've tried to do is describe other things that all the members can do to fulfill their obligation. For instance, the YMCA gives us an employee who organizes programs and exercise classes on the trail. So that's their part of it. The town of Spencer, their investment, if you will, is the sidewalks that are included in the MyPath Trail system. Soil and Water holds title to the property for the Community Foundation, and then Devin Brown does some oversight of the maintenance at this point. So no, there is no expectation that anyone contribute any more than cooperation. And I think Gary and I talked, the only thing that's been done so far is the county was nice enough to put striping on the South Bridge to kind of set the traffic away from the pedestrians on the.
And I think that that's the avenue that we'll want to continue to help. And I'm sure that Greg would jump in here in areas as we work towards the park. That'll be in the county area to try to help do some maintenance. I think that that's the part that we would contribute to. Funding again, I'd like to tell you that we could pay for the whole path, but we couldn't pay for a pebble on it.
We understand, we kind of understand what you guys are dealing with, and so haven't come looking for money and probably won't, but.
Well, Jim and I spoke on this, we just wanted to be clear, and I'm gonna be quiet, let Jim go ahead.
The only thing, I guess, probably from the commissioner's standpoint, as you're looking for changes, is if there was just a clause saying there is no obligation for any financial funding. If that would be up to the commissioners, but there may be a difficulty if literally, as one commissioner said, a pebble. I mean, there just may not be any avenue for any fiscal funding.
Right, and that certainly would not be our expectation. So we can, what I did with the Y was add something a little more specific about their programming as their contribution. I might try a phrase and run it by you to see if
Sure, that's
meet your requirements.
That's good with me, guys. Are you okay with that, Bob?
Yeah.
I feel, and I'm speaking for Greg here, of course, but I think that Greg will have no problem continuing with helping out with maintenance and so on and so forth.
I work with alleys with my path on different things, and
it works out.
Good. But we want to do whatever we can, but right now fiscally, we can't, so.
Totally understood.
Well, Mark, we appreciate it. We get those adjustments in this and we're happy to move forward.
And then, it wasn't my reason for being here, but let's say you guys had some extra bridges laying around that you wanted me to reuse on my path, I would be an interested party.
And we talked about that as well. We're still in the process of looking into that and the possibilities of even whether we're gonna be able to do anything with those or not.
Right.
So once we get that determined, we'll definitely make you the first call.
Stay in touch.
That's right, that's right. So I'm gonna recommend that this time we table this until the meeting on the 1st, our meeting of whenever that is, April, is it the 1st? 5th, April 5th. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion. Thought you made a motion second.
I guess maybe I did, Bob, I'm sorry. All right, we have a first and a second. First by me, made the motion by me, second by Bob. All in favor? Aye. We'll see you back on the 5th, Mark.
Very good.
Thank you.
Gentlemen.
You're welcome.
Do I have Intertech out there anywhere? Were they to be here, or we just need to sign this
I
contract?
don't know that they were gonna be here.
Okay. Greg, I want to jump this real quick and then we'll get you rolling, okay? You can come on up, they're not here. Sorry about that. Stand up, sit down. All right, guys, have everybody had a chance to look at your extermination agreement? Everybody get a copy of this? Or have seen it?
I've seen it, yeah.
It's just our annual contract with Intertech for pest control for all the buildings. Yeah. And Sheila, does this figure up, has it got a total on here, monthly expense of $495? Yeah, for everything. Yeah, $5,500 annually. I'd like to make a motion that I'm allowed to sign this for Intertech.
I second it.
I have a second by Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
3-0, Sheila.
Mary, I have a question on that. Will that also address the issues that's going on in my building and also EMS still?
It says ENS, yeah, and communication is both on here. Yep.
The every 2 weeks?
This says a monthly service.
Okay.
What kind of problem you got? Because there are some restrictions as an extra cost.
Okay.
I think on that.
I don't know if we want to discuss that publicly
Right.
for various reasons.
Yeah. Okay.
If you want to get with Bob on that later,
Yeah.
I'm aware of what you're talking about.
Because they really have been,
Yeah.
every,
And right now, I think we're paying that extra.
yeah,
Yes, okay. Until that's under control.
okay.
All right, Greg, go ahead.
Good evening, Commissioners. You'll find a binder in front of you. Most everything in this binder you would have received by email from time to time throughout this last 2-week period. A lot of communication getting back and forth. That being said, I put it in paper form because sometimes I need that to physically look at and put that in front of you gentlemen tonight. I don't know where you would like to start. We have Kelly Road bridge bids. Do you want to start with them or would you like to end with those?
Why don't we, got some people here for that, don't we? Why don't we go ahead and get that out of the way? Go ahead, Jim's got this.
Commissioners, at this point, I mean, the bids by Indiana Statute 36-112-4, the bids have to be read out loud. They have to be opened in a public meeting. You have the authority tonight, if you feel you have all the information, to go ahead and award the bid. You should have in your paperwork a notice of intent to award and a notice to proceed. But that will be after they're open. A few things preliminary. It appears that you have 3 bids that have arrived. Riley, Connor Excavating, and also CLR Incorporated. All of these bids did come in on March 15th. I don't have the complete accurate, I think on one, but I believe, if I understand correctly, CLR was at approximately 3:10 p.m. The Reed Riley was in the range of 3:40 PM, and then Connor Excavating was 5:40 PM. The bid cutoff was at 6 o'clock. There was an announcement prior to that time if anyone else came in. For those watching, all three bids are sealed, they have not been opened. Commissioners, you would look at the price, they have to be a responsive bidder and a responsible bidder. This first bid is from Reed Riley. Go ahead and open it. Break the seal. Okay, Reed Riley has used the bid form, the bid sheet. This is a lump sum bid, so I will read that, then I'll go ahead and look. But from Reed Riley, the lump sum bid amount in figures, $534,505.76. Bid amount in figures, $534,505.76, and the same thing is in writing. Commissioners, this does itemize it by the types of material and the supplies needed, but it's a lump sum bid. This just breaks it down for you. If I can look through here, I do see there is a non-discriminant affidavit. There is a notary from Reed Riley. There's the travel casualty and surety of America, the bond there. So there is the 10% bid bond. It is signed. Rise. This is the qualifications, which is all required also in this. It is broken down. Department of Transportation certificate of qualification. It has their description of work. There is the proposal. There's a proposal in this one where they sign it just agreeing to follow the scope of work and the contract if awarded. That has been completed. That has been signed and dated. This is the bid. Proposal works is included. This is the contractor's bid form, Form 96. It has been filled out. It has the level of experience, that's for your evaluation, experience and questionnaires completed, plans of construction, it has references, exhibit A for the references. The contractor's financial statement is also required, it is proper, it is in. You have a notarized non-conclusion affidavit that has been properly signed and is properly notarized. Certificate of liability insurance. It has a domestic steel affidavit. It has been notarized and signed. Non-collusion affidavit also. It's mandatory by any public contract under 36.112.4. There has to be a drug testing program under 413.18. That has been completed. And the employment eligibility certificate. It would be, in my opinion, that the Reed Riley would be qualified as a responsive bidder, and so their bid amount of $534,505.76 would be placed for your consideration. Next bid is from CLR. It is sealed. Opening it up. Okay. Commissioners, looking in here, this is from CLR. In bid amount and in words, the following. The bid amount is $245,430.00. The bid amount is $245,430.00. It is on the proper form. It also has itemized the equipment for your consideration if you want to take a look. Proposal has been signed and properly notarized. There is a bid bond of 10% that has been signed, has a notary seal, returning, and the insurance and notarization. Selective insurance for their assets and responsibilities have been produced. Non-residential producer, the insurance has been included. Certificate of insurance by the Department of Insurance, certificate of authority, and their information. There's also certificate of qualifications from the Indiana Department of Corrections, also permitted and listed down. The different amounts are unlimited. Contractors affidavit of subs, they are indicating they would have no subcontractors employed. They have also signed and used the proposal that was provided in the bid packet. And it is signed. They've included, they have the financial statement included in this envelope. And it does have their financial statement as of November 30th of 2020 by Walter Arnett Certified Public Accountant, as far as notifying it has their assets and their liabilities. So that would be in order. They have completed the Form 96 form. It is completed. They have the questionnaire. They have listed their proper prior work. In there, they have mobilized and employed. Listed the possibility of the subcontractors that they might use. They have different equipment that's all been verified. They have submitted the financial statement. They have the non-collusion, and this has been signed and notarized. Bid proposal, they're given a certificate of liability insurance. The domestic steel affidavit has been signed and it has been notarized. The non-collusion affidavit, which was specifically on this document, has been signed and notarized. Drug testing policy, it's in proper form and it's indicated that they do in fact have that. And they've also signed the form that was presented by the Highway Department. The employee contract and eligibility certification has also been completed and filled out. Equal employment opportunity affirmative action statement. And then followed with more documentation. Non-discrimination affidavit has been also signed, non-discrimination, and corporate resolution, signed and notarized. Gentlemen, looking at here, as far as complying with the forms, it would appear that CLR would also have submitted, so the bid of $245,430 would be available for your consideration. This is the third one. This is from Connor Excavating. Seal, a couple ways. Gentleman Connor Excavating, bid proposal. Okay, so first, I mean, it's a little different area. They have completed the proposal on March 15th, signed here, proposal. I'm gonna see for 96, I'm looking for the actual bid, if I may. Apologies, I have to go this page by page, I just did so sure.
Take your time, Jim.
I do not see at this point the actual amount, here it is, okay. All right, gentlemen, this is from Connor Excavating. The bid amount, $222,400. $222,400. They have itemized the packet, but that is their bid. Okay. This is the part of the contract and the appendix and specified documents. This would only be if you approve it. So now just forward this. Okay. So, gentlemen, this is simply the paperwork the highway did. This is a contract, and this is the scope of work that was not required for them to sit in there. So there's nothing incorrect about it. I am to the point here for the performance bond. It is empty, gentlemen. So you have the authority to waive some technicalities, but I have a duty to tell you that there was a requirement for a 10% performance bond or the equivalent of a cash check. I will go through this, but at this particular point, I see neither one of those. So that would be, I do not see anything for a bond or performance bond with this application. That would be a deficiency of of the packet. So I'm gonna set this separate area, go on. It does have the balance sheet. It does have the contractor's non-collusion affidavit. It is notarized, that is proper. I apologize, I see an E-Verify website that don't see the actual signing there. Let me continue to look. This is the Form 96, that is filled out. It is signed, it does have other experience. Filled out the questionnaire, possible subcontractors, that's all in order. Gentlemen, I apologize, I do not, let me go through it again. I don't see the non-collusion affidavit. I don't know your time, but let me go through it. This is, I just want to check every page because I don't want to give you information. Correct. Okay, I do not see a check or anything as far as a performance bond. Let me go through here. At this point, what I'm looking for are the drug testing, the non-collusion affidavits. This, to the very best of my knowledge, this is just the material for the highway as far as scope of work and what the contract would be. So that would not be required. This page is your actual bid. This is the cover page. This is the proposal. Go through here again. I have the financial, what I would consider the financial statement, right here. Okay, here is the non-collusion affidavit. It is signed and it is notarized. We have a non-collusion. I do not see in here the domestic steel affidavit. I do not see the eligibility paperwork signed or the drug testing. So look and places them in the packet, but it would appear that there would be deficiencies in here. It's well within your authority, but at this point, I mean, my duty to use report, I do not see the actual performance bond, and I don't see the other required forms to be there. So
Jim, if you don't
waive all of this.
Yeah, if you don't care, I'm gonna jump in here. Before Bob and Dell became on board, we spent a lot of time getting this right. You and Greg worked diligently to get a bid process together, and we're going to abide by that. I feel that that's the right thing to do. If anybody here's got any comment or objections to that, please speak up.
Well, there's just $23,000 difference for a sure thing.
It's definitely a lower bid, but it is not filled out properly.
At this point, the issue before the commissioners did, have they responded in the, the proper manner? There are a number of deficiencies here, especially that there clearly is not a performance bond.
Did not put the 10% bond or.
There's no personal check and there's no, it's blank. I mean, it's not in there, so.
I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we exclude the Connor construction bid.
I second that.
All in favor?
All in favor.
All right, so gentlemen, just on here, according to 3612, the requirement by the Indiana law under there is that it be awarded to the lowest bidder. If not, then there would have to be, would go through the series of factors that are by law that would suggest why it was not. But your amounts here from CLR, repeating, $245,430 is the bid. The one from Riley Construction is $534,505.76.
Jim, thank you very much for all that. Greg, it's your turn to jump in here, obviously.
Okay, gentlemen,
can I make a statement before we move forward? This is money left from community crossings that we received at amount of $94,000 that we have from the state, correct?
That is correct. We had a match. When we bid this bridge, we expect the total cost, community crossings will give us $94,000. When we first started this project, we expected it to cost us about $134,000. $145,000, excuse me. Steel has went up. I expected it to go up 30%. Looks like with the CR bid, it's about 34% higher than we had first originally figured. But I did have word with y'all that told you steel was gonna go up. We just couldn't get under contract with this bridge. But out of this, there's $94,000 that is grant money that we need to be under contract.
Let me ask you this, Greg, and I know what you're gonna tell me. We don't have any choice but to build this bridge because we have $95,000 that the state's given us to move forward.
That or send it back.
Exactly, and that we're not gonna do. So, and I'm assuming that we're gonna cut some kind of plan here with what we've already got in a highway road plan, or are we going to have enough influx in November, late November, early December into our bridge fund, which I know it's already been cut $72,000 by the state this year. Last year, we had 435,000 roughly in that fund, Cume Bridge. Where do we sit today? And if I'm not mistaken, it's probably in the negative.
It is not the negative.
Okay.
We're about $20,000 in Cume Bridge, but we're expecting a influx with the property tax coming up. So I'll get my spring influx. Should be around $194,000.
Okay, so that'll cover us, and then we'll be working out of 1173 on any pipe and culvert issues at that point until we get our
That is correct. We will get another influx in Cume Bridge in November, but what I will tell you, gentlemen, is I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I think I need to tell you, this is probably the only bridge we build this year.
You're right.
What I would like to see us do is build this bridge, and then try bank some money in that 1135 fund. I think you're gonna, I know there's no money to find anywhere, but we visited this last year, and just straight up, caught a lot of heat, with the new commissioners, you don't, Commissioner Burton and, Williamson and Brothers and I, when we asked for more money and would have to have a readjustment in the cumulative tax. I realize we have to share it with everybody else, but this keeps going down on me, gentlemen, and we have a transportation system that is failing. So we need to readjust that. I'm not asking that anybody pay any more tax. I'm asking for a readjustment within our own structure to try to build this a little bit.
And you're correct, Greg. We did come to a public meeting and.
You guys ever think about hiring an experienced bridge builder and start doing some of them yourself? You got most of the equipment, and you can buy all the materials.
I could buy, like this bridge is a prefab bridge, if, with some rented equipment such as a crane, we could probably set this ourselves. And, yes, I have considered that, especially some of the smaller ones.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we've been doing, we're trying to get these bridges that aren't, that don't have to be bridges, they can be culverts, replaced with culverts. Get them off the bridge inventory, which costs us less for inspection each year. And then we don't have that normal bridge maintenance. Now, we do have culvert issue, but we've been putting all those in ourselves.
Did you see them building bridges out of them like a square?
Yeah, yes.
And set a bunch of them.
Yes.
Takes a big machine to set them, but looks to me like that'd be a way to go too.
We set one of those out on Graham Road. 2 years ago. And as long as the water flow works, it was a reduction in cost.
Yeah, I think other than hiring a crane to set it for us, that was about the biggest expense.
Yes.
Yeah. The biggest problem with doing these deals, I think right now, is our labor, our workforce. We take a handful of our guys out there to start building bridges, and then we're lacking on other projects. So until we get our workforce up a little bit.
That's why you gotta hire some people to experience.
Well, unfortunately, we're strapped.
Well, my problem now is like this time of year. It's like my truck drivers. I've started losing truck drivers when, the tri-axles start running and these guys are making $25 an hour. I don't have drivers. I lost a driver this week.
Well, let me ask you this, Greg, on this bridge situation, so we can move forward.
Yes.
Do you feel that with the influx of bridge money coming in and the money that the state has given us, because I hate like heck to have to give $95,000 back to the state that we've been awarded, can we afford to finish this bridge? It's been closed for what, a year and a half?
It has, yes, I do. I would ask that you award the bid CLR.
Gentlemen, I'd like to make a motion.
I ain't gonna make no motion on spending that much money right now for a bridge.
Dale, if we don't, the state's give us $95,000 to build this bridge, and if we don't build it, we gotta send it back, and this bridge will never get built.
Have we got any money to go along with that?
We do, that's what I just asked Greg.
We do.
We do?
Yes.
I would not agree to build it either if we didn't have the money, trust me.
I say, if we got the money to do it, do it. Because in 10 years or 5 years, it'll be twice that.
Exactly. Well, we've seen a 35% increase here.
Commissioner DuBois, so you know, I would tell you if I didn't think I did, I'd sit in front of the commissioners many times and said, don't think we should. And I don't have a problem doing that. But, with the money received from the state and what we have coming in, yes, we can build this bridge.
We were on a path, guys, and I'm gonna cut this short. We were trying to build 2 bridges a year. We have not done that in 2 years.
That's correct.
18 was the last time that was done. And we've got to get back on track, or this county is gonna be shut down for transportation, I'm telling you.
Are they still allowing to use old railroad flat cars for bridges?
No. It will not pass inspection.
Now, Dale, that was 25 years ago when you was a commissioner.
I know. No.
I give that to you.
They've been doing it lately in other states.
Yeah, they're not letting us do it here because they don't pass. I put it up for a motion that we approve this CLR quote for $245,430. Bob has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioners, now that you voted, there's 2 things. One for the highway, Greg already knows this, got to get that signed contract to the state really as quickly as possible. We're fine, but if there is a deadline, so we have it. The other one would be, if you voted, so the intent to award the Kelly Bridge project, that should be part of your packet. You should have that form to sign. But on the contractor's notice to proceed, you would need a date on when you want them to begin the construction. There's a paragraph there on what date.
I'll leave that up to Greg. That's falls in his wheelhouse. I know that he's not gonna be out there building it, but he's gonna be, Bill,
Yes, sir.
have a projected start date?
No, we hadn't planned on that far because we weren't sure who was gonna get the job. But, we'll be working with Greg on it. And if there's any way we can save you money on this job, we will be more than glad to do it.
We appreciate that.
CLR enjoys working down here.
You've always done us a good job as far as working with us. We
Dale, I
appreciate that.
served as commissioner right before you left the first time down here.
Superintendent, just on that, it just simply says you should begin construction no sooner than. You can pick a date, but this just lets them know when not to start. Like, for example, you don't want to start tomorrow, or if you've got a month that you need to get ready. This is just a, don't begin no sooner than date. You've got a month that you need to get ready. This is just a, don't begin no sooner than date.
No sooner than July 15th.
That gives you plenty of time, doesn't it, Bill?
Yes, and I appreciate it.
And then
I was
those,
from Vigo County, Bill.
You what?
I was commissioned in Vigo County, or Vigo County, whatever.
You, okay.
We need to sign that before I leave, right, Jim?
yeah, because you all, those, all three, there's all three commissioners need to sign the intent to award and then notice to proceed. It'll be attested by the auditor, and then it needs a representative from CLR to sign the contract and acknowledge receiving both of those.
Here's my pass back, you can have that.
We need to get that to Chad so he can sign the form number 6.
They have a paperwork from them.
Look in that basket down there, Jim, and see if it's already come through by mistake. I'm looking through my paperwork and I don't see it.
It has not, I brought additional copies, commissioners.
I have a copy here too. Each one of the books has a copy.
Chair, this is, the first one is the intent to award the project, the second one is the notice to proceed, and then they selected July 15th of 2021 as the notice of date.
I don't know. I don't see it anywhere, Sheila.
Okay, you got a copy of
Yeah.
that.
There'll be one page on this.
I think so, Bill.
Did Bill need to take a copy of that with him tonight?
Yeah,
I think you just put it in that basket there.
You signed the form 96?
Haven't seen that one yet. Is that underneath of it or something? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, there. We'll let,
Jim or Sheila put the date. That one there's July 15th, right? Proceed.
Notice to proceed.
Yeah.
That part is the.
we'll let you fill that part out after we sign it. Yeah, they're just like you. I got so many papers. I'm shuffling around like a deck of cards.
Yeah.
No leases coming up yet.
All right, Bill, we'll get a date on this. Thank you for everybody's patience here.
Look at the notes.
He did. He had to go. Oh, leave mine down.
No later than,
When did you say start on this?
oh, the contract is today's date, he's received.
No sooner than July
This
15th.
is right, this
This is the,
Yeah, the weather will be good by then. You can get right at it.
Here, we've got 6 crews working right now.
I figured you probably did,
That's
yeah.
CLR. Yeah. That is, you'll be definitely copies, keep the original, and then that is the one about the July 15th.
Just check this thing.
Other day I was in town and on a semi trailer, there was a damn ring, big, looked like aluminum ring, stainless steel, like a turntable. Anyway, that big 12 feet each side of the trailer. And the state police is leading and the cops, and sirens going. And nobody could go down the street with that when they met that dude. It had to be or something, I don't wonder how they made it. Don't know where it was going.
What's the property address?
It is,
Property address?
you got a physical address on that Kelly Road, roughly?
I can just tell you that it is between the intersections of Bond and Denmark.
Kelly Road between Bond and Denmark.
Just go where the road's closed at and you can't go any further.
Yeah, go to the bridges out.
If I was a young man, I'd go to the bridge.
That's me, buddy.
What was Reese Well, I think, Jesus.
Can I sign this?
You're representing CLR, aren't you?
The actual contract, you are representing the CLR has to sign the actual contract, which has been awarded on March 15th. So that's the actual contract that was in the packet.
Yeah.
They'll need to sign that and give that back to the auditor.
He's gone this week.
That's, I mean, the notice has been given to you in a public meeting, so they'll need the signed contract from CLA, and the notice to proceed is not until July 15th, so the 1 week would be enough time to bring that back in. But you're, yeah. Oh, you definitely want to keep copies.
Jim, I will make contact if you want to make sure you get everything right for the state, but I think that'll lead them.
Okay.
I need to go make copies.
Well, let's do this. Don't let that copy leave the courthouse. Bill can come back by here before the end of the week and get a copy of that to get to Chad. Do not let that, thank you.
You just want me to come back and see Chief.
That's exactly what I want you to do. Thank you, Bill.
Hey, thanks a lot, gentlemen. We
You're welcome.
appreciate it. We enjoy working here.
All right, Greg.
Okay, gentlemen, I think we can get through this rather quick, but I need to discuss erosion issues on Little Flock Road. We laid new pavement on Little Flock as part of the community crossing project. Was pretty dry. We thought we resolved most of the drainage issues, but there are 3 spots that I would like to lay a little more asphalt, no more than in our right of way. But between addresses 7288 and 7305, we're at those addresses, and then at Timber Lane Road. We've got some drainage issues there. I'm gonna take we're gonna go out, we're gonna repair them, we're gonna pitch these driveways 2 different directions, but there's a lot of water off of that hill, and I'd like to extend the pavement with a little more of an apron, just no more than 20 foot from the center of the road. In those 3 locations, we take 22 tons of asphalt at a cost of $1,232. Gentlemen, I have that in my budget, but I don't lay any asphalt with that paver unless it comes before this board.
And there's a reason for that, and that was a very smart move.
So, I would ask for your permission to lay that 22 tons of asphalt to solve this drainage problem on Little Flock Road at the next available convenience to the highway department. Things will have to dry up, things will have to get better, but I need to get this on my list.
Gentlemen, this is obviously well under this $10,000 threshold, but the reason that being is no blacktop was laid on any county road without the approval of the authority commissioner. At this time, I'm going to have to ask for a motion for Greg to go ahead and repair the drainage issues on Little Flock Road at the cost of $1,233. Excuse me, $1,232.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion by Dale, do I hear a second? Second by Bob, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It's a small price to pay to keep it from being 10 times worse.
Get that to you and I'll come by.
All right, Greg.
Okay, next thing, gentlemen, we sold our 1998 Sterling truck on govdeals.com, $10,099. The gentleman is from Russellville, Alabama. He will be here this week to get it. Commissioners did approve that I surplus this and sell it, but I need this title signed.
Yeah, we can do that, and Greg, I don't know what your feeling is on this, but if we'd have ran this through a surplus auction and had it out there at the county, we'd have been lucky if we'd have got $2,000 out of this truck.
Yes, I'm extremely happy.
And this money will go back into your equipment fund line.
Yes.
Well, how much you get out of it?
$10,099.
What was it?
That Sterling truck you and I looked at.
Oh.
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has your signature by the board. Do you have a?
Yes, he will sign, then I'll bring you everything.
Well. I think you did good.
Yes, sir.
Greg, I'm gonna leave the tin on the selling price over
Put it
here.
down like you said.
Fill it out when they pick it up.
Okay. Next, gentlemen, you'll see in your paperwork is just the cost of the snowstorm that we had February 15th and through the 16th. That cost us $16,055.48. For the sake of transparency to everyone, I take all the figures for the weather events and present them to you.
Yeah, thank goodness. Hopefully we don't have another one, but if that's not too bad, one for the whole year, so.
No.
That includes the truck, though.
No, it does not include the truck. But I'll get to that here in just a few minutes. In regard to the weight limits on the roads, gentlemen, although they're popping, there's not a lot more we can do for them right now. Effective March 15th, I'd like to lift the limits on the roads that we placed on. That in regard to the weather, short of County Line Road, the County Line Road bridge repair has been made by E3 Bridge. Extremely satisfied with that. Looks good, but I need to get that inspected, so I need to leave that 7-ton limit on that road until that bridge is re-inspected.
Did we not originally agree to keep these roads closed for 90 days, or the limits to 90 days?
Well, the ordinance says they can be
Up to
90 days.
Yeah. The reason I asked that, I had a couple of taxpayers call me up in my district and wanted to know if we were gonna get signs out, because there was, Ponderosa was one of the roads which we paved a couple of years ago that was getting destroyed. Semi truck driving up and down it.
Well, I've actually been on Ponderosa Road, and I'm gonna disagree. That road's not getting destroyed.
Okay.
There have been people on it. I probably have spoken with the same person that you have.
And as you know, I normally go out and check these. I just can't be everywhere all the time.
I got it. I went out and looked. I don't necessarily like it either, gentlemen, but there are people that live on that road that are truck drivers and loaders, and they take their equipment in and out of there. That's their way of business. That's where they live. That is the home base of their business.
And we can't deny them that.
So I know the complaint, but it is a based business on that road.
Good enough.
Of our local residents. Next gentleman, I need to know what the board's pleasure is on the Caterpillar situation that we have with the loader.
All right, gentlemen, we have in front of us, if we can all find it, the three possibilities of the $90,000 remaining on the loader at the highway. That was a lease agreement with a balloon payment at the end of $90,000 and some change, if I can find my paper. And Caterpillar has been gracious enough to give us an extended dollar buyout lease, 3, 4, or 5 year option. I don't know if you guys have had an opportunity to look at that yet. Everybody, you got it, or Bob, yeah.
Gentlemen, as highway superintendent, I don't like being put in these boxes at all, but this was done long before either any of us said it here, but this loader was leased for 5 years. We had a balloon payment of $90,000 at the end of this lease.
And we were all under the assumption that it was a dollar buyout.
Yes, and it was not. That being said, Caterpillar ran the numbers, 3, 4, and 5 year lease. We can, it would be my proposal in order to get ourselves out of this situation that we do the 5 year lease with a dollar buyout. The reason being is it more fits our budget. If we did that, it would be $19,192.32. I can't say that I like it, but I don't know what else we're gonna do at this point in time, other than we let them come get it.
Well, we can't do that. Yeah, unfortunately, I can tell you, sitting on this board right now, there will be no more lease with a balloon payment. It just won't happen.
How many hours are on that loader?
2,600.
With hard broke in it?
No.
And you go equipment, companies price a loader like that with 2,600 hours on it, and it's $150,000.
Yes. No, I think the $90,000 is, good, but put the figures to what we've paid for this loader with the 5 year lease and this gentleman and.
Yeah, we're paying a little bit more than we should, but we're not gonna find another loader like this for $90,000.
So, Caterpillar is, a Sourcewell and part of the government bid. I can testify to that, but it would be my proposal that we, agreed to the 5 year lease, because that is something we can afford, that I don't have to dig for money.
And gentlemen, so you know, Greg come to me this about a month ago and said, hey, Gary, we got a problem. And we thought we did have a problem. We had to come up with $90,000. And I immediately said, Greg, get a hold of Caterpillar. Barry, the salesman over there, has been very gracious to us over the past. And I'd asked him to see if they would give us a dollar buyout lease on the remaining amount of this balance. And they came up with a 3, 4, and 5 year plan. So first of all, I want to thank Caterpillar for doing that for us, because they did not have to. They could have said either give us the $90,000 or we're taking your loader. So there's $2,000 difference in additional interest from the 3 year payment to the 5 year payment, but it is considerably less for Greg's budget. We're looking at a $31,000 annual payment over 3 years, or a $19,000 annual payment over 5 years, which directly affects his budget this year. So, if there's any other comments, let's hear them. Otherwise, I'm gonna ask for a motion that we approve the 5 year payment plan at $19,192.32 with a dollar buyout.
That's still less than 100,000.
That is correct.
I'll make a motion.
I got a first and a second.
I thought you made the motion, didn't you?
God, maybe I did. I can't remember. We've got a motion on the table and Bob and Dale seconded. How's
There you
that?
go.
Yeah.
We all vote for.
Just right before you vote, just make sure it's kind of clear. The 19,192.32 is correct, but that's with Owen County providing the insurance. I know that's what's been done in the past, but we want to be clear to be sure that that is put on Owen County insurance, because it would jump up almost, about $700, payment with it. The other part is, the Caterpillar has given you a proposal, so this would be the acceptance of a proposal, but I would anticipate that Caterpillar would then come back with the actual contract. If it would be appropriate, I'd like to bring the contract, send it back to you, the board, sign it in this meeting, and then Greg, if you want this, I know they've done it in the past, they proved that they are Sourcewell and on the state bid, but Indiana Code 522.10.15B, this is a special purchase provision. They need to demonstrate the proof, and they already have many times in the past. We need that document, and then for the auditor and for the highway, this particular contract will need to be in a special purchase file, and this needs to be, we'll have the contractor's name, the amount of the contract, because it's subject to an audit by the State Board of Accounts. So for just technically, this is accepting the proposal by Caterpillar for the 5 years 19. I get that, great, if they would submit the contract documents to come back to the board.
Okay, so I'll restate my motion. It is for acceptance of the contract from Caterpillar to be brought back at the next commissioners meeting for final approval. And that we will maintain insurance on it. All right, I have a second by Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Also, you will find included, and Sheila, this is for your records, the other leases that the county highway department has. There's only 2 other pieces of equipment leased besides that loader that I have any type of load on, that are the 2 21 graders that I have. So you have that in the 3-ring binder. We have nothing else that is financed.
And anything we can do to help you update your files, Sheila, don't hesitate to ask, whether it be the highway department or any other department, because I know you're missing some stuff, so.
Okay, gentlemen, now we need to talk about the wrecked truck. That was 2000 Sterling. That was put on its side during the last snowstorm. Refer to the code here. What's this?
It's always, or it says insurance. There's that little tab there. Yeah. Thanks for being here, folks.
Sorry, gentlemen, looks like we may not have a page copy of this stuff. Sterling. Okay, gentlemen, I'm missing a page in this, but I need to ask for your approval tonight. I know the numbers. There was an estimate to fix the Sterling truck for $25,000. $28,000 and some dollars with a $3,000 deductible.
$28,144.
The insurance company, and one is missing, and I apologize, but the insurance company offered us, around $36,000 for that truck with a $3,000 deductible, and have asked us to accept a $33,000, around $36 settlement. I would, I don't have it, but those are the figures. I would ask that the commissioners, allow me to accept the $33,000 settlement on the truck.
Do you have a sheet here we could sign tonight? You don't, do you?
It's got the wrong number on it, Gary.
Is it this packet?
Let me see what you have, and I apologize.
This is the truck that was turned over during the snowstorm. If you look at the very back, right here, Bob, on page 2 of this, repair estimate.
Here we go.
Flip it one more time. It's on page 2 of 4, it says. There, one more. Maybe. There you go. That's what they were gonna charge to fix it, and then less the deductible, and they were gonna pay us $33 for it. Greg, while we're looking for this, can you tell us the value of this truck?
Well, gentlemen, it's basically the same truck that we just sold online for $10,099.
Right, the other one was a 1998 or 1999.
98, this is a 2000. Now, this truck was in better shape, and I did send the paperwork, in regard to the value, because we didn't put a transmission in it.
So the insurance compensated you for any repairs that you put
They did. Did do a little work to the bed, which they compensated for, but I do believe that the offer.
Are they going to claim this truck, for this payment?
They are.
This truck's not even made anymore, is it?
No.
They're outdated. So it wouldn't be any need of keeping it then. It's outdated piece of.
Can't find parts for it.
Ain't right.
Greg, without the form, and I know the 33,000, and I'll ask Jim, can we go ahead and approve signature on this?
Yeah, why don't you just go ahead and approve the motion and allow you, and with the motion being that you can sign this at a later date, but approve the substantive part and then giving you authority to go ahead and sign the
Right,
paperwork.
we can all stop by the auditor's office and sign off on it. So I am gonna make a motion that we go ahead and approve the $33,000 and some change from the insurance company for settlement of this truck, to be signed at a later date. Do I have
I'll make a motion.
make a motion? Dale's got a motion. I have here a second.
Second.
Have a second by Bob. All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Dakota, don't worry about looking for it. We'll move forward.
Superintendent, was there a particular account you wanted that received?
I would like that to go into, my 1173 motor vehicle fund. We had an insurance account in the 1173.
Right, I know you have some insurance accounts set up.
Friendly amendment then, that we go into that account.
Okay, yeah, I'll amend that motion to go in 1173 in motor vehicle. Yeah.
I second it.
Gentlemen, I have the same thing.
All in favor?
Oh, sorry.
Gary Ocean on the amendment.
Sorry. Gentlemen, I had a 2018 Mack truck hitting the side. The insurance company, wants to repair the truck. I agree with the repair on the truck. It would be repaired, by Mack for a total of $4,592.56. Or we will receive a check for that. This accident wasn't our fault, so we got full price for the accident.
Will, this amount actually cover the expense of the repair?
It does.
Okay.
And I do have the paperwork for them to sign off.
All right, gentlemen, do I hear a motion for approval for, deposit of insurance check for the 2018 MAC totaling $4,592.56 to be put into motor vehicle restricted revenue, which is 1173. Do I hear a motion?
I make that motion.
I have a motion by Bob, second by Dale. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Then lastly, gentlemen, I would like to thank Jim and Sheila, and also, John Parmalee, but, especially Jim for the work he did on this Mount Carmel Road claim. We were able to receive $25,000, which my department has already spent, to repair a culvert that was struck on Mount Carmel Road. Sheila has a $25,000 check in her office, or in a safe somewhere, made out to the highway department. I would request that be put in my NVH motor vehicle insurance line also.
And this is a check that we've been waiting on since April of last year, or looking forward, or correct?
Found them, received, all taken care of.
Awesome. Do I hear a motion for approval to deposit the $25,000 check into the NVH restricted fund line?
I make a motion, we deposit that 25,000 in the MP or whatever.
NVH. Have a second from Dale. All in favor? Aye.
Okay, gentlemen, a little update on the Iron Bridge inventory list and request. Jim and I actually went out and looked at some of the bridges. I'd like for you to leave me until the next commissioners meeting to come back with a report, what Jim and I think we should do.
Yeah, and I spoke to Jim with this on a little bit to get us that information, and then we'll look for some other options.
Okay, just haven't had a chance to.
And it's not priority, Greg.
Get down to it.
Not priority. Those bridges haven't went anywhere in 20 years, and they're not gonna go anywhere next week.
100 years.
Yeah, I was trying to be, halfway safe.
Okay, gentlemen, the next thing, and I know that Jim came out and looked at my fuel tanks and said that those fuel tanks couldn't be purchased out of cume cap money. I'm just gonna be honest with you, maybe I'm getting a little greedy, but is there somewhere else that the commissioners could help find money in their budget? I know they're not building, but they're permanent at my shop. I mean, I'll find it somewhere.
Well, unfortunately, Greg, I wish I could tell you, yeah, but the commissioner's fund is paying for workman's comp insurance, liability insurance, health insurance. Cume cap is the only fund that we have available for us to spend money.
Had to ask.
Yeah, the only other option, and again, we have COVID-19 CARES Act money that we received that is in the commissioner's hands that has been promised to certain projects. There's $151,000 in there right now. I still need to sit down with Sheila to verify that everything has been paid. I'm pretty sure that it has been, but we kind of get bit in the hind end every time we turn around with a new thing, so I want to make it positive. So by saying that, with the other obligations that I've already committed with EMS and a couple others, there may be funds there that we can do that with.
Okay.
And Jim, help me out here, because with that money now in the hands of the commissioner, it does no longer fall into a COVID issue.
It's still COVID-19 fine.
Okay.
So what I'm gonna ask is the same thing that I asked about here. Let me review up here, because it wasn't until I was gonna ask, like, I really had to go through both IC6 and IC36, went through every one, even looked at kind of some cases, and there's just no way to do that. So I'm gonna guess ask the same lead before we do a commit to COVID to do the same type of analysis.
Definitely, yeah. We don't do anything wrong, but there's option.
I will remind everyone, Commissioner Burton knows, everyone else might not know, but during, the last tornado that went through, my fuel pumps were the only fuel pumps operable in the whole county. I filled sheriff's cars, state police, whoever needed fuel, it was emergency vehicle because I had the capability to run my pumps. So those are pumps that.
That is correct, Jim.
Fill emergency vehicles, but nobody else can.
I was at EMA that night, throughout that whole street. And we were getting calls from, basically everybody in the county, including the state police. And, we opened up, the pumps out there and just kind of kept a, traveling record of who was getting what fuel, because otherwise everything was shut down. So it is an emergency, falls into an emergency situation. But yeah, we fueled, I think, ambulances and everything else that night.
I know we did fire trucks, state police vehicles, and sheriff's cars,
Yeah.
I believe, but I can't say that I did ambulances, but, okay. I'm pleased to report that we, are ready to turn more road over to EMB paving. The new commissioners may or may not know, but there was problems on Moore Road. EMB paving has agreed to come fix the problems. There was things that the county agreed to do. We have done that with concrete and floating fill. Now it's EMB's turn to come back and fix the problems. So we're ready to turn that road over to them. I will re-inspect it again in the morning, but I do believe it is prepared to do that. And then I will make the phone call. Jim, and I will let you know what my findings are.
Greg, and I'm gonna put it in your hands that you are satisfied with the completion of that project as well as Jim. Because we have others to continue on with once that one's done.
Correct. We'll have to do, basically, we're gonna have to do the same thing to McFerrin Road too.
Gentlemen, just to give you a quick update, these roads were paved last October. Am I correct? Last October? Be 2 years this time.
2 years,
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and within the first 3 months, they started falling apart. And they were with community crossings money, part of our grant money, and they did, Moore, Truesdale, and McFerrin, and they are in horrible shape. They're not gonna last another year.
Too thin or not enough oil?
Well, a little of everything, yeah, both, Dale, both. And we've had the highest of powers from that company out of Muncie down here personally to inspect them, and they have agreed to
refer them to our satisfaction.
Exactly.
There were a few things that we agreed to, which were minimal compared to getting the repairs done.
and they're absolutely horrible, so we're moving in the right direction.
Okay, the Secrets Ferry Bridge, the walking bridge Gosport, the repairs have been made. Not opened it to the public yet. I know the public's been on it because I've really received thank yous, but, the barricades are still up because the bridge is, yet to be inspected. Again, commissioners, hasn't been inspected since 1990. I have no agreement to have it inspected, although United Consulting is trying to put something together for us.
And they're gonna inspect this as a walking bridge,
As
not
as a walking bridge.
Okay.
Now, the repairs were made, this is a historical bridge. The repairs were made with, two, treated boards. I'm going to put some, gray stain on them to try to match. We took a sample of the wood, sent it to some Amish fellows, and found out the wood plank on that bridge is teak.
Really?
We really don't, because it's historical, if I could find teak, I will go ahead and get 2 teak boards and put it down, but right now I've had no luck, so it has treated boards on it and it is safe.
Very good. Well, I recommend that we go ahead and get it properly inspected before we open it back up to foot traffic, and leave the barricades up until that point.
And then, the last thing, gentlemen, I'm gonna ask, and it's gonna come to that bridge because I have emails almost daily in regard to that. could you set a special meeting at that site sometime in April to take a look at that bridge? We talked about that at a meeting, and,
For some type of park venture, or how we want to go about straightening that up out
but
there?
how we wanna go about straightening it up, and it was actually the request, is when I made the request, if you guys would approve me to apply for a grant, not spend any of our own money.
It's this walking bridge you're talking about.
Yes.
I would have to do that before the 23rd of April, because I'm gonna be out of town for about 10 days. How about you gentlemen? Our meeting is on the 5th and the 19th.
Fifth's the daytime one, right?
Yeah, 5th is our morning meeting. It don't have to be on a meeting date necessarily, but, what about the 14th? That's on the off week on a Wednesday. We will be out there for 30 minutes probably, you think, Greg, an hour at best?
On the 14th or 14th?
No, not this, this is March, I'm talking April. Let me help you here. The 14th is on a Wednesday.
And it's our off week of a commissioners meeting. Does that work for you gentlemen?
It's all right with me.
Jim?
What time did you want to do that?
Greg, do you have a preference in time, 10 o'clock in the morning?
That, I would, if it suits everybody, I'd just assume do it during the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't wanna do it in the evening.
As long as I get an email, remind me.
Sheila?
I'll send you one too, Dave.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion that we call a special meeting at the Gosport River Bridge, on April the 14th at 10 a.m.
I second that.
And we'll be meeting on the Texas Ridge roadside.
And we have to run that in the paper.
Yeah, she will advertise it.
Okay, the only other thing I have, and I just need to get with Dale at some point in time, here toward the end of the week, but, we've got it located down here and we're ready to dig it next week at the coroner's office.
He's
Oh, I'm
he
sorry.
he traded.
Trade, okay, Bob.
No, I'm just trading. Oh, yeah. Maintenance.
That's
That's all three of us.
Your maintenance.
The courthouse is all,
Him now.
maintenance is you.
Well, we're prepared to dig at the coroner's office next week.
Next week?
Yes.
Greg, and here's another thing that we discussed, that we think that probably Terry Fender, we would get him to lay the pipe.
Terry Fender has agreed to put the pipe in. I don't have anybody to cut the sewer, put the sewer in, so.
I tell you how to get it done, that's against the law.
Yeah,
And Terry's got the permits to handle that wastewater and we do not, so.
My son can do it in just a few minutes, but I can't do it unless I abstain from voting on it.
So,
We already talked about, Terry, if you're all right with that, Dale.
Oh, I'm okay with that.
I thought you were, I just wanted to make sure. So Greg, if you would, go ahead and set that up. You guys and Bob with a dig date, get with Terry on it, have him do the pipe install. If you're gonna do all the labor, all he's gotta do is do the pipe hookup.
we'll probably start next Monday morning. That's my plan.
Okay.
You got a air jackhammer?
Oh,
You're gonna have a brick some concrete in the floor down there.
Where the bathroom's gonna go in.
Where it goes in.
Just stub it inside under the slab.
okay,
Got a big sledgehammer?
we'll figure it out. I'll look at it, we'll figure it out. I haven't looked inside the building.
Now,
Jim, let me ask you about this. They're gonna provide the labor on this, but we're gonna have to pay for the pipe and the labor to hook it up.
that is going to a building, our coroner's office.
Okay.
Will that qualify for QCAP?
Yeah, because the coroner's building is the building underneath the commissioner's authority. This is going directly into that building, am I correct?
That is correct.
So this would be necessary for the maintenance of that vehicle, building, I apologize. So that's your connection, therefore, in order to maintain or construct on that building, that would fall under that.
Okay, I want to just make that clear to
Now, when
everybody.
it comes to buying the material, gentlemen, do you want me to do it like I do the sheriff's office and purchase it and then bill the coroner?
Yeah, the only thing I want, bill the commissioners under cume cap,
Or give me the claim and I'll run it in through Sheila. I'm sorry. Got too much going on, don't we? But yeah, you buy the pipe at our cost, and Terry will just provide the labor on, running the pipe.
Okay.
Okay? And that will go through the cume cap. So any bills that come in for that project, give them to Sheila, and then myself or Bob will take care of the claim for cume cap. Okay. Thank you.
If you wanted to mention it, great. That email, the lady that was interested in the bridge, Mark Rogers also asked about it, and you guys are gonna get back with him at the next meeting. That email I just gave you.
Oh,
It's good.
Yeah, and that's again, a whole nother issue. All right, come on up, Kathleen. 911 communication. I have. Go right ahead.
All right, so the first one that we're gonna start with is I've been working with the advisory board, my advisory board over the 911 center. And there is a need for us to do something with the fire VHF radio system. So our fire rescue and EMS all work off of this radio system. Currently, right now, we obviously project from the dispatch center, it goes to Hoosier Energy, and then we have 2 towers, one located in Patricksburg and one located, I believe around Coal City on an REMC tower. When these repeaters were put in, it was approximately 10 years ago, and the equipment and the system is extremely outdated, so we have a very poor coverage area within the entire county. The paperwork that I submitted to you guys is a quote from J&K. They are my radio vendor that I use within the communication center, and what this would do is it would upgrade equipment in my comm center, just minor equipment there. It would upgrade equipment at the Hoosier Energy Tower site, the REMC site, the Patricksburg site, and then it would also build us a new tower down in Freedom off of the Eastern Heights Utility Tower that they have down there.
And you've contacted all these organizations and discussed.
So what we would need to do is, we would need to formally approach, Eastern Heights Utilities with an MOU. We have got an informal approval that from their board that they would allow us to do it, but we would actually present it to their board with an MOU, and make the formal request for us to be able to use their tower to, use their water tower to put a tower up for our fire system. I did just find out this evening that the quote that you see from J&K, I applied for a grant about 2 weeks ago, and I found out this evening that I got the total price of the quote from J&K of the $35,814.17 funded through a grant. So at this time, there would be nothing that would be coming out of my budget or asking you guys to pay for. The recurring fees that would occur for this program would be probably around $9,000 a year, and that is annual maintenance on all of the towers. Currently, there has not been any maintenance on any of the towers. It would also upgrade all of the equipment that we have out there, and would also set us up in the future that if we do decide to go to a digital system or upgrade our system even further, this equipment would allow us to do that at minimal cost down the road.
So this is not only fixing a problem now, it's looking into the future to expand if need be.
Correct.
Which is something that that we haven't done in this county in the past with a lot of different projects, so I commend you for that. I know I talked to you about this earlier, and J&K is the only vendor that does this type of work. I know I talked to you about this.
Well, there are other vendors that do this type of work. However, since J&K is my sole vendor, this is a communication center project. They're the ones that I use for my radio. I do know that this is over the $10,000 quote, and I've been advised I do not have to go out and request bids for this amount since it is still under my umbrella, communications, and under my vendor.
Jim?
No?
No. No, but the same, there is no exemption for the still getting the 3 quotes, but you've got a grant for it. So I would have some questions, recall, like there's also a special purchasing. There's about 18 different ones. So like there might be questions, is J&K, on the vendor, if it's a sole source, also if this is an unusually low quote. So you're not, and really no department is exempt from the fact that Owen County, so let me kind of backtrack, I know it's kind of late, but the state bid, the state quote is 50,000 or under. Owen County though, as allowed and has made an ordinance, that anything over 10,000 has to get 3 quotes for the purchase. So there'll be a couple options. One would be getting 2 more quotes. The other option though would be kind of a full examination with J&K. Are they a state bid? Are they a single source? If those are, then that changes and allows for the legal special purchase statute to provide. But I would not respectfully recommend to you or any other department just the base of a single quote if it's over $10,000.
And if we can answer 2 of those questions that we just mentioned, that's gonna put it back just to them.
The state bid or single source?
Yeah, but if they're on a state bid, or if they're truly the single source for this type of equipment. Now, if they're not, they're not. I mean, it's just as simple as that. If that's the case, you would want to ascertain 2 more quotes, and then you would come in. However, now I'm talking just purely hypothetically though, there's also a consideration as far as them providing all the equipment. So you as a director, one of the areas to be concerned about is the compatibility of equipment. So example, I'm trying to think of a company that doesn't exist because I'm a derogatory. So if Acme Electronics would come in and say, oh yeah, we can put in a repeater for you, and it's 20 years old or something like that, just because they're the lowest bid, the lowest quote, that doesn't matter. It has to be compatible. It has to meet your needs when you're specifying this out. But if there are other equipment that could provide these items, you would need the 2, so the 2 others, so there could be a comparison.
Okay. All right, well, I will get with J&K. I will have those conversations. I will ask those 2 questions.
We're still gonna support this, okay?
Yeah, it has to be done.
Right.
If you talk to any of the fire departments, this is the biggest complaint that they've always had, and they've had for 7 years, which is about 6 more years than I've been here. So something has to be done. So
Well,
we'll figure that out.
yeah, I don't think you're gonna have any problem with support, it's just getting the right attitudes.
Yeah.
And it's good that you've already been approved for the grant.
Yeah.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
Well, she got a bid, she knows where to go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So the second thing that I have, you guys will see a report in front of you for 911 center staffing. So I guess big thing that I'm asking for you here, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to read through this. I have a lot of information in here as far as how many people it should take to run the Owen County Communications Center versus how many we have. So what I'm asking is I'm wanting an increase in personnel. I want to add a communications officer to our current staff, so this would give me 9 people. And in doing that, I would also like to create a tax shift float rotation. So this person, currently our shifts work 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. This tax shift person would work from noon to midnight. If anybody takes vacation on day shift, they would flex forward 6 hours and cover that person's shift. If anybody works or is on night shift, takes vacation, they would flex back 6 hours and they would cover that shift. This would pretty much eliminate all of my overtime in the center, minus COVID hitting and multiple people being out on quarantine. But
Can I ask you what you're spending in overtime now?
right now to today, I don't have my number today, but I know last year I spent 134% over my overtime, or 134% of my overtime budget.
Okay. So a large chunk of that would pay for a portion of this.
Yes, yes. So, if you look at page 3, very bottom of page 3, I did a call analysis. This is something that is this program is commonly used, throughout call centers, 911 systems, that kind of stuff. It creates a formula for what your staffing needs to be based on your number of calls that you receive. So I did the year of 2019. All of these numbers were pulled from the state, and these are 911 calls only. So we have around 872 calls per month that come through just 911. This does not include our administrative numbers, people calling and asking questions, non-emergent calls, anything like that. So this states that I should have typically 10.7 full-time employees. I currently have 9. Says I should also have 3 people on 24 hours a day. And at this moment, we can run with 1 person, but we do not like to run with 1. I try to keep 2 on shift as much as possible. But the only time we do drop down to running just 1 person on a shift is from like midnight to 6 a.m. or midnight into like 8 a.m. Kind of those calmer hours. It just kind of depends the day of the week. So the numbers show that I do need additional personnel as well, based off of just our 911 calls that we receive into the center.
And Kathleen, do you have, right now, do you have the funding to provide for this employee?
I do. When you go to page 7, I did our base pay for a new hire is approximately $15.39 at full-time pay. That's $32,011.20. Once you add in health insurance that's paid by the county, the 11.2% of PERF, the 8% of FICA, there are 13 days of holiday pay, average approximately $53,046.79 is what it costs for me to have an employee annually. In my current budget that I have now, based off of the leftover monies that I took from last year to carry forward, I would be able to fund this position until 2025.
Okay.
I would be able to fund this position until 2025.
That's for 2 employees.
That's for 1 additional employee.
Oh,
Yeah.
so in other words, if you got 2, you don't have enough money,
Correct. Yeah.
but you got enough for 1.
Yeah, I have enough for 1, and the 1's all that I'm asking for.
Thank you. That added up real quick.
Yeah. Well, as you heard me earlier in the meeting, we've got some financial meetings coming up that's going to determine, and within the next couple of months, kind of determine or lay out where we're at, where we're going, who we're gonna borrow money from. Kathleen, I'm all in favor of this. But until we get through those two meetings coming up, I'd like to table this for further discussion for at least 30 days. Jim, am I being reasonable there?
Yeah, I think you gotta have some answers within 30 days.
Okay. And that's all I can say at this time. I know that that's not telling you everything that you want to hear, but I don't know everything that I need to know yet. So once we have that information, we can move forward. I think it's absolutely an excellent idea. It needs to be done. And right now you have the funds to do that.
Yeah, and this is also gonna tackle, I don't mean to interrupt, but I know the big topic of conversation has been people with excessive amounts of time, comp time, PTO time, everything like that. My employees fall into that same boat. I have a couple employees that just came to me the other day that said, I wanna take time off. Like, I know I wanna take Wednesday, Thursday off, but I don't wanna burden you with trying to find coverage and then having to fill with overtime and then us possibly running out of overtime. So like, my people aren't using their time to get away from the center, which is what they need to do because our job is stressful enough. That by doing this, it would allow them to take the time off and not have to worry about any of that and actually use their time.
Correct. Well, and as you're aware, I think we have a meeting tomorrow with 3. And I think that I'm in that meeting. Bob, we got you scheduled for one on the 20th. You don't know about this yet. Haven't had a chance to. Tomorrow is at 4 o'clock, and on the 23rd is at 6 o'clock.
Tomorrow's at 6.
Tomorrow's at 6, and then the other one's at the 24th. To discuss this very problem with PTO time. I still want you to, we're gonna have these meetings, but at your next council meeting, I would go back, literally get on the agenda.
Yeah.
And push to get that taken care of. Right now, you have the funding to eliminate those hours, which you're gonna have to have. Because you have people wanting time off. And we can't have people sleeping in the consoles and quitting and everything else. So this needs to be pushed pretty hard, but we are having meetings with the council over this, as you're aware. They've asked to meet with, they can't have a full-blown meeting because then it has to be advertised and so on and so forth. So they want one commissioner with 3 council members, and another commissioner with the other 3 council members on a different night to discuss all of our PTO time that's built up. So I will take tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Unfortunately, and I think Jim's supposed to be there at those 2, if I'm not mistaken, what you request. So let's get through that, but I would definitely ask you now to bid on the agenda firmly for this, because we have to move forward on this. And this PTO time, and I don't mean to be a dead horse here, but the longer that we delay this, it's like interest on a note. It just keeps building. It's not gonna go away, and you got a solution, and I'm all for you. So if you can put up with us here for 30 days on this, we'll have some answers. I still feel that you need to go ahead and proceed with your compound problem.
Okay.
So at this time, I'm gonna ask for a motion to table the additional person until we have some more financial information within the next 30 days. So, we'll be looking at possibly the end of April, that we can make a decision moving forward.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Dale. Do I hear a second? Second by Bob. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And I know you spent a lot of time here and got a little out of us, but
Right?
I think that happened to you at the council meeting the other night too.
Yeah.
I apologize for that,
It's okay.
but we are going to continue to work forward. I
Okay.
promise. Kathleen,
guys.
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for your hard work.
How about this here, a bug man?
We already signed that. I believe that's just a copy for you to look at. Yep.
I tried it last week.
Let me find my agenda here, gentlemen, and we'll get out of here. Special events application for nobody that's left here, but we've got a few people still on YouTube.
Got exciting news that the Apple Butter Festival is going to return to the Owen County Courthouse Square. They have already sent in their application and their damage deposit. And I am very excited to hear that that is the September 18th and 19th, I believe. Is that correct, Sheila? I don't have the form right here in front of me.
17th, 18th,
17th, 18th, and 19th. That is the festival that's been around this square for many, many years, was moved to the fairgrounds due to the construction of the highway. So I'm excited to say that they will be back this year with God willing and the virus going away, we can move forward.
Are you guys approving then the application?
We are going to approve it. Yep, I was just announcing the excitement of it. So I'm going to ask for a motion for the approval of the Apple Butter Festival application.
I'll make a motion, we go ahead and approve the Apple Butter Festival for this special event application.
I'll second that.
Got a motion by Bob, a second by Dale, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Glad to have you back.
had received a second events application late from Marcy. I did put it in your packets if you want to consider it. It's basically just the event in the county for the fireworks program.
We can do that. Because we have special events on the agenda, so we'll include that. Can I see it so I can at least read a little bit of it?
That box.
Okay, and then the second one is for the Owen County 4th of July celebration. It's sponsored by Owen County Chamber of Commerce, EDC, and Boston Scientific. It's the July the 3rd. Rain out day is Sunday the 4th. And let's see here. Isn't this in the
It doesn't.
property of, it was in the past, and we didn't do it last year, but it was in the Walmart field next to the, between the YMCA and Walmart.
Yes.
Is where they launched it, and I think they let people park in across the road at the high school and then Walmart parking lot. So this application has been applied for by Marcy King from the Owen County Chamber of Commerce. And at this time, I'll ask for a motion for approval. 4th of July fireworks show.
They're gonna shoot off from here or?
From Walmart Park, or the field between
Oh,
Walmart and the YMCA.
you own that?
It's, who lets that, we don't own that field.
Own it.
I think, I don't know if Rogers Group.
It's part of the events ordinance in the county that everybody has to, if they're holding
We
events.
approve them to do it. Yeah.
We approved it for.
No, it's just a county event because the highway has to get involved to help with traffic and different things like
Sheriff's
that.
Department and everything.
Exactly. So do I hear a motion for approval for the 4th of July event?
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion by Dale. Do I hear a second? Second by Bob. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Well, we're a lot better than we were 2 years ago. We have 2 events on the books. So that's very good. Elected officials and department heads are all gone except for Kathleen. She's already had her turn. Jim?
Nothing.
Auditor?
Just real quick, the tax sale has been scheduled for June 8th this year. We're just starting the process of going through the checklist and making sure that everything is ready for the certificate sale. And I know Nicole's been including you on the checklist and stuff and getting everything ready so that it is ready. So just wanted you to get that on your calendars.
June the 8th, okay.
June the 8th. Did you all get your copies of your 2021 directories? I think I put them in
I
your,
got my phone numbers wrong.
well, I didn't do this.
Yeah, I don't know where this information comes from. They do it.
I don't either.
It
Dale,
just
did you
came in the
get
mail.
one of these?
Yeah.
Okay.
You want?
Yes.
Okay. Then we have a previous employee that is requesting to be bought out for time that was left on the books for vacation, personal, and comp time.
And that would be our past maintenance individual. Does have that hanging on the books. I'd like to make a motion that we approve that moving forward to the council, because it'll be the council's final approval before anything gets paid out. But that is, has to move forward. The individual's no longer here. So do I hear a motion to let that move forward to the council to pay out?
Make a motion, we move that forward to the county council.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Bob, I have a second by Dale, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
And Sheila, I guess before I do that, I'm gonna make the amount of 3,300 and some change. So we all kind of know what was it, am I correct there, $3,310 or something like that? Okay.
$3,310.
Yeah, and I think, Jim, just for your, originally that was 287 comp hours, and I see that it's been dropped to 170. Yeah, how that happened, I'm not really sure, but it's not what we thought it was. So apparently some of it's been taken.
Okay.
Anything else?
Just that you all got copies of the monthly reports and our, where we're at, we're broke. Jim's been sending out the comparisons and just keeping everybody up to date on our financial.
And gentlemen sitting here, I'll have another, and it's the request of the auditor that the president of the board, the president of the council, the attorney, and the auditor sit through these meetings with the auditor or the auditing company. As I get those information, I will contact you and let you know where we're at. Obviously, we've had the preliminary at the end of this month. Jim and I are anticipating having another meeting, which will be here. And as soon as I get that information, obviously, I'll forward it to you to keep everybody informed. You know, this is a very, very serious issue with our financials.
Yep.
And we've got to stay on it, work as a group. There was some discussion, and Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, we may have to do some executive session meetings with the council during the next couple of months as we get this information to work together going forward.
Sure, well, let me just say, I think that the accounting report has just been entered, and I think it just, there'll be kind of cumulative of information that will be available. At that point, you know, then obviously the county council, commissioners would make some decisions. So right now, all I can say is that there's more information coming. The other thing too is obviously you've had January and February. With March, we'll be able to have the first quarter, which would give both council, commissioners, and auditor a nice quarterly trend to take a look at that. Receipts coming in, expenditures going out, monitoring certain accounts on how they're doing. So I would say that I would expect in April, enough information should be available to both the commissioners and the council and the auditor then to make some of those determinations.
And gentlemen, if you've been paying attention to any of these numbers at all, it continually goes down every month. So just food for thought. All right, commissioners. Bob, you have any comments, any questions?
No, sir.
Yeah?
No.
All right, if you guys approve, and I'm ready to get out of here too, Bob. If you guys approve, I will contact Jacob Staley tomorrow. I'll let him know he's got the position, and then I'll have him come see when he can come in. I think he give us, he was ready to go to work here in a few days, wasn't he? Didn't he just have a temporary or something?
He just ended his job.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
Yeah, he was working through some kind of service.
He got laid off, I think he said tonight, or today.
Today, I think, was his last day. So I'll contact him tomorrow. And Bob, what would be a good day for you to meet with him? Obviously, we got to get him in here to get with Sheila and get paperwork filled out and things like that. I'll tell you what, let me call him and see when he's willing to start, and then I'll get with you. That good?
About 8 days. Okay. It's fine with me.
And I may meet with him. That's not a meeting, that's an administrative duty, so we don't have to do anything about that. The last thing I've got before we get out of here, Jim, our paper is causing us problems as far as public notice. They're telling Sheila she needs 3 to 5 days because there's nobody manning this office. It's not our fault that we don't have a newspaper. Can we not post this on our county website as well as post it on the door?
Well, no, so I'm gonna answer your question directly. Yes, you can do it on the door and on the website. But as of right now, that has still not been waived. So I know that, that's a discussion right now in the General Assembly as far as maybe removing that requirement. But as of right now, that is still a requirement of publication and notification to the paper.
Well, I know that you brought that up at one time. So
But I do know that the General Assembly is looking at that possibility. That would be statewide. Now, there would still be the need for the notice, but electronically maybe. And part of it is just simply for that, is that a number of counties are now down to a single paper. Probably in some counties, it could even be zero. So, but as of today, we still have to comply with that.
Gotcha. Well, I just feel like they're holding us holding us hostage here.
It's just making it tough in the timing that you guys say, let's call a special meeting or whatever. By the time we get to them, we're looking at a whole nother day added to it because it's past their deadlines. She's working with me as much as she can but she has her duties that she has to do too, so.
Yeah, and I totally understand that. I would just, it kind of puts us in a bind if we need to call a special meeting and there's no contact and we're waiting 3 days to make something happen, but it is what it is. All right, after that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second that.
We have a motion to adjourn by Bob, seconded by Dale, and approved by all three. I voted for you.
You might go anywhere, cause I got run down the restroom.
It'll take me 20 minutes to get all this paper picked up. Jim, thank you.